flew into your arms spread open wide. Come, my love, meet me inside where our hidden places tingle, where love exuberantly mingles. Dream with me and hold me tight. Dream with me all through the night. Dream with me our deepest self.
2 minutes.
Until it flies free like an elf. Take my hand and hold me tight. Take my hand all through the night. Take my hand with gentlest touch, with the heart I love so much. I will sing to you my words.
Oh, Bruce knows we're about to start.
You know, but have not heard. You have cracked my heart in two. Now it's whole, because it flew into your arms, spread open wide. Come on,
Izzy!
meet me inside, where our hidden places tingle, where love exuberantly mingles.
So beautiful. And I promise.
Thought you forgot about it.
On my next episode. Unfortunately, it's time to wrap up the show. Time flies. I know. But the only thing I can say now is don't miss my next episode. And what else? Please don't forget, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And my handles are so easy to remember. It's just Yola Nash or Yola Nash Show. So until next time, stay well, be happy. I'm Yola Nash.
The Yola Nash Show.
Oh, good. You made it for the Marty segment. Oh, good.
Yola Nash Show. So until next
WABC, New York. The following program does not necessarily reflect the views of WABC Radio. It's Saturday evening. Time for Talking Sports. Here's your host, Jonathan Friedman.
It is Saturday evening, and we are talking sports right here on 77 WABC. I'm John Friedman. Bruce Clayton is on the other side of the glass. Bruce, how are you? Chuck is our call screener. Charles, what's happening?
I'm in shock, Johnny.
Lots to talk about in the next 2 hours. You bring it. We'll talk about it. Give us a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. Models.com. Also, we're streaming the show. Go to WABCRadio.com. Click on that red Listen Live button, and you'll get us on your mobile device, laptop, etc., and enjoy the show on the World Wide Web. Also, you can watch the show. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Type in Talking Sports with Jonathan Friedman. It's public, it's live, it's right there. Lots to cover in the next 2 hours, including the women's U.S. soccer team will try and close out the World Cup against the Netherlands. We'll discuss. Kawhi Leonard has made his choice, and we'll take a look at that. Baseball's All-Star Game is Tuesday. We'll break down both teams. We'll see what's happening over at Wimbledon. Chuck will keep us updated on scores and finals around Major League Baseball and other sports news and your calls. And speaking of calls, give us a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-9222. That's 800-848-WABC. Models.com. Well, gosh, last time we were here, Chuck, Jeff, Bruce, we didn't know what was happening with free agency. It was the night before Durant had made his decision to go to the Nets along with Kyrie Irving. That happened. They got their day, so to speak, right? They got all the media coverage. Right. And then today, or late last night, Kawhi Leonard goes to the Clippers, and nobody had any idea that there was something going on working where Paul George was going to be traded from Oklahoma for a whole bunch of first-round picks to the Clippers. And, wow, that changed the landscape. And what I love about that is everybody was excited in LA about LeBron and Anthony Davis, but hello, you got another team that plays in the same arena that now is going to bring LA. You're talking about a juice town right now. I mean, that's just crazy what's going on. And, you got to feel for the Toronto Raptors a bit now. And the only reason why I feel bad for him is because obviously he left, but the fans there, listen, Kawhi has earned his right as a free agent. He was traded while under contract. You knew this could be a possibility, but the best part about it is he won you a championship. And that's something that nobody can ever take away from the Toronto Raptors. And you know what? They have a really good GM, Toronto, and they will stay competitive in the East. I can guarantee you. And the even more interesting thing about it is while all this was going on, Westbrook and George were almost traded to Toronto last night. Right. They were using both of them against, Oklahoma City was seeing what's the best deal they could get. And obviously all those first rounders that they got from the Clippers ended up being what they chose, but it also set themselves up for they're going to rebuild. And you could say goodbye to Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City. Now, I'm not a big Russell Westbrook fan. I don't think he makes his teammates better. And you can see the difference between a Kawhi Leonard who took a good Toronto team and made them better and made everybody on that team better, right? And now they've got a situation where, they're blowing it up. They got a Russell Westbrook sitting there, and that first of all, he's fuming inside because they're going to rebuild. 2, he just signed an extension. He's got a huge contract. Chuck, what are they going to do with that huge contract? And where is he going to go where they won't send him to a rebuilding team, but where he's going to have to understand, hey, I'm not the man. There could be another team he goes to, i.e., as my son said to me today, Dallas or another team that, he may have to take a step back and be one of the guys, so to speak.
Well, Johnny, first I want to start off by saying that Westbrook is probably the first player in NBA history to go through 3 top 5 players in the league
no doubt,
and accomplish absolutely nothing, which is pretty surprising.
I always talk to you about that Steven Adams thing. When he had that press conference a few years ago, Steven had a reporter asked him a question, and he wouldn't let him answer the question. That sat so wrong with me. Adams is a big boy. He can answer his own questions. Exactly. So, and the other players on that team, he has some pretty decent players on that team. Steven Adams, the kid they got from Atlanta 2 years ago, the point guard's a pretty good player because they're not going to keep him around. They just brought in another point guard in this deal.
Yeah.
So, a lot's going on with that situation with them. And, but I'm just glad that Kawhi did not go to the Lakers.
Thank God.
And Paul George now, he's going home too. He's an LA guy too. So kind of interesting. But
really interesting thing I read today. First player ever to win the Finals MVP and leave the team.
First time ever, right?
Never happened before.
I guess no other one's ever been a free agent either.
Yeah.
At that time, at that point.
Rare thing.
But Toronto and their GM, they all took a chance, right? And they do it again, right? No doubt about it. They do it again to win a championship. So, and they have a really good GM. Now, I wonder if that GM saying, maybe I should have taken the Washington job at $10 million a year. That could be a different story. So we got a lot going on tonight. We got, how about the kid happened to be from my hometown of Atlanta, Coco Gauff at Wimbledon, doing what she did yesterday, coming back. But you know what? A little juice. There's more juice in women's tennis than there is in men's tennis, and it's Wimbledon. And she's a kid, so that's kind of exciting. We'll see what she does going on further in the tournament. And then you got the USA women's soccer team tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And Alex Morgan, if you want to do a teacup, you can do it as long as you want.
John, you know what I understand about her is why does she have to make a sexist comment about it? Why?
Who knows? I just know the people in England were all upset that she was doing that with the teacup. And get over it. You want to stop her from doing it? Win the game.
All right, but Jeff, right? Do we not as fans complain about when a player, homers and he kind of, pimps it, or when a player scores a touchdown and he does a dance. Do we not complain about that?
I think Odell lost his job because of stuff like that.
Right, we complain.
But they don't have anything else to compare it to. Right. They can't compare it to. I don't know. Do they do those things? She should have said the WNBA players.
Right, but why is Morgan making a huge stink over it when we don't only complain about a women's celebration, we also complain about when men do celebrations too.
Yeah, that's true.
No, listen, she didn't need to say anything. She didn't need to go there at all. She just needed to stand by what she did, which I was fine with. And again, if the Netherlands don't want her, for example, to do it tomorrow, win the game.
But I think I'm just sick and tired of how everything in sports is becoming either racist or sexist or this and that. And people complain about the WNBA, like their salaries are not going to go up because they don't bring in the revenue.
Right.
That's what it's based on.
Absolutely.
Well,
why is that a subject right now that they're complaining?
It's a big thing on college campuses because they're trying to divert, get the college to divert money to non-revenue making sports.
Right.
And it's
but women's basketball, I would think, in college sports does pretty well.
It does, but a lot of other women's sports like baseball, softball, soccer don't do as well as the men's sports. It's just a reality of the situation right now. And the colleges are.
An example is you have guys who are bench players in the NBA making more than Connor McDavid in the NHL. It's just all about revenue. And in the NBA, you have players signed for a combined like $4 billion worth of contracts this past weekend. And nobody complains about it because the NBA generates more revenue for the NHL. And the salary caps are going to go up and down based on whatever money the sport brings in. It's
simple math. Simple math.
Common sense, and people got to say, oh, well, they got to get paid more. And who's going to pay them? The league's going to fold.
But by the way, who are the people, for example, in the WNBA? The WNBA players, right? I don't know. Without the NBA, there is no WNBA. They're the ones that are floating this whole thing.
Question. No question.
And it's actually, you go and you watch some games once in a while on TV, and it's not like I watch a lot of these games. They got camps that come. That's why they have day games, by the way, in the summer for summer camps.
Right.
So listen, but the league's been around 20 years. I guess that's just part of maybe that's a part of the collecting bargaining agreement with the NBA that they keep the WNBA. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if the WNBA could generate billions in revenue, then I'm sure the players would get paid millions upon millions in salary. But if it's not bringing in money, you can't give out money. It's simple economics 101.
No doubt about it. I totally agree with you. So we're going to. But anyway, on a side note, I'm hoping I can get myself up tomorrow, and it's hard for me to watch soccer. I'm not I can watch a little bit of soccer, but I can't watch a whole game. But since this is for the World Cup, and what a difference, by the way, between the men's soccer team, who always stinks, and the women's soccer team that's always, very competitive. All right, Bruce, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we've got What Do You Think Marty is back?
Oh, man, I can't wait.
He is back. Brought to you by B&B Metro Insurance. You're listening to Talking Sports on a Saturday evening with me, John Friedman. Give me a call on the Gotta Go to Moe's call-in line at 800-848-9222. We'll be right back.
What Do You Think Marty is sponsored by Brown & Brown Metro. They do insurance from homeowners, automotive, workers' compensation, business insurance, group health, casualty, and life insurance. Visit Brown & Brown Metro on the web at bbmetro.com.
Wait up to get up.
Give them a call at 973-549-1900. Visit Brown & Brown Metro
I went online
at
and I took it off online.
bbmetro.com. Or give them a call at
Every time you
973-549-1900.
go to that, I'm going to do that.
Metro is a proud sponsor
So you know how they do that after the morning show?
Yeah.
That's
Many
Marty.
doctors in the U.S. and Canada have chosen the Back Institute for their own care. Experts in non-traumatic spine surgery. No cutting, no bleeding, no drilling, no scarring. With offices in New York City, Philadelphia,
that's
and
trying to
Beverly
give
Hills,
this up to
Back
all
Institute
these people
Oh, I
around.
tried to have it on
information
there.
about
And Darnell with the whole money said this year,
Visit
you
Back
saw that.
Institute online
Darnell,
at
what
backinstitute.com.
Really?
Yeah.
Or give them a call at 800-956-6724.
I didn't even know he still played.
That's
Yeah, he's not doing well, but-
800-956-6724.
Did that pitcher pitch? That's who pitched against the Yankees today, didn't it? Or was that last night? The guy you talked about from Tampa Bay.
This week's luxury
Didn't he pitch
jersey
last night?
apartment from
Did he
the
get
KRE
beat?
Group is a gorgeous one-bedroom,
It was. It's on down.
facing north,
They
overlooking
shut him
Jersey City,
down?
Yeah,
with a
it's on
beautiful
down. Just
view
like
of
you
the
did.
Manhattan
Also,
skyline at Journal Square. This 652 square foot home, an open concept layout with modern design, stainless steel kitchens, quartz countertops, luxuriously appointed bathrooms, full-size washer and dryer and unit, central heating, cooling, and much more. Their leasing office is open 7 days a week, and you can reach them at info@journalsquared.com or give them a call at 201-659-7100. Check out KREinJC.com for more details.
Advertisers trying to reach potential customers in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world are having a difficult, if not impossible, time figuring out how to do so. There are
So
so
bored
many
today.
options. From
My
the
wife's
traditional
away. She
media
is
to
away.
practically
I didn't see your
digital
text
and
until
social
I should have come. I actually probably would have, but I got home from taking a I fell asleep, and that's what I said. I'm like,
however, and it's called
We did fireworks on
SCG
150
advertising in public
street.
relations.
That was
SCG
projector
is a
and a big
full-service
wall.
advertising and
oh, it was
public
like that you
relations
the whole
agency
videotape.
wall.
You mean
that
that
can
you
help
watch
you
No,
the
live.
video?
Yeah,
chaotic
live.
media
But it's not.
landscape
But
and
you're not doing it.
potential
No,
customers.
no,
We
projector.
help our clients strengthen their
Easy.
relationships, reputations, and brands by integrating your message across the entire media spectrum. The folks at SCG understand the options available to advertisers and will work with you to
The big story
determine the
about
best
Brody throwing
creative
the chair
and media
today.
plan for your
You
business.
heard about that?
Talk about
Learn
it.
more
Pulled the
about
coaches
us
in
by
through
visiting
chairs.
Oh, you want to talk about it?
scgadv.com. That's scgadv.com. We'll help you reach your customers, all of them.
Talk Radio 77 WABC and Maimonides Medical Center are proud to kick off Brooklyn's baseball season by announcing the Celebrity Softball Battle for Brooklyn. Come out to Coney Island's MCU Park on July 24th to root for your favorite hosts and celebrities as they play to benefit the new state-of-the-art Maimonides Prostate Center. Team Talk Radio 77 WABC will be led by Bernie and Sid in the morning.
Shortstop, Dwight Gooden, Jim Leyritz, Tony Sirico, Matthew Modine, Joseph Abboud, Bo Deal, and more. What a squad.
The Celebrity Softball Battle for Brooklyn, July 24th, 5 p.m. at MCU Park. Order tickets today. Learn more at strikecancerout.org and WABCRadio.com.
All right, we're back. We're talking sports on a Saturday evening with me, John Friedman. Jeff Lax is with us. Chuck is with us. We got Bruce working the board. Give us a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-9222. That's 800-848-WABC. Models.com. All right. So after a 2-week absence, what a life he has. Time for What Do You Think, Marty? Marty S., what's happening? Good luck to you. What's happening? How was your trip? And what's going on?
My trip was good. You must be enjoying bachelorhood right now.
How you know about that? Boy, word gets around quickly.
Word gets around 10 days of no talking in your house.
Nothing. It's just me and the television.
Who could have a better life than that?
Good. What's happening? Tell us about your last 2 weeks. Wait, you had a good last 2 weeks. You were Europe bound?
I was vacationing. I work hard. I work very hard.
Yes, you do.
Very, very hard. So anyway, I got a big concern.
Okay.
Sports fans and sports fans in general. What do you think? So let me start off by talking about the NBA. Aren't you just tired of these super teams already?
Well, what I'm tired of is certainly the anticipation and the coverage before signings. That's driving me crazy, especially before last week and the coverage that it gets. That's one. But the super teams are annoying in regards to, besides I felt bad for Toronto that Kawhi left there, but at least he didn't go to the Lakers.
I know, but he threatened to go to the Lakers if they didn't get Paul George, and then Paul George demands a trade, and then it's like the inmates running the asylum. It's just not like when I grew up, you rooted for a team. That's your team. You got a guy. You build a team like you're Atlanta Braves. You just build a team. You fill it in with a guy here and there, and then you just got super teams. It's like your friends. It's just your friends in baseball. Mickey Mantle going, I want to go play with Willie Mays. It's not any different. Mickey Mantle with Willie Mays out in San Francisco.
You certainly grew more organically. It seems like back in the day.
Yeah, but it's just like, who does anyone care anymore? It's just like watch. Now Westbrook's going to go play with Jimmy Butler. They think of Miami.
Well, here's the thing, by the way. Let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that. Is there a little thing? And I know Paul George sent out a tweet today. This has nothing to do with Westbrook, but does it have something to do with Westbrook?
I mean, he really has to. He had a choice last year to go home, and he was a weasel because he didn't want to go to Clippers by himself and play for the Clippers without Kawhi. What a bunch of babies! Could you imagine Michael Jordan going, I want to go play with Larry Bird? I mean, really? I think it's kind of serious.
The times have changed. The times have changed.
Then you got the regular sports fans. So you got like my friend Ed. You know my friend Ed? Remember?
Yeah, sure.
Ed from Skytown. This guy is delusional. It's a delusional. He roots for his team to come in sixth place.
Well, he's a big Detroit fan, right?
He's a big Detroit fan.
Well, you at least give him credit that he likes or he can deal with losing.
But he calls me up and goes, I hope we come in sixth place so we can come in the first round. Did you ever imagine being a sports fan and rooting for your team to come in sixth place?
Well, you're talking to an Atlanta fan.
Luckily for the Mets, we only have four teams in the division. Otherwise, we'd be much lower than
Well, I mean, when you're a kid, at least you start off the year, you go, boy, okay, I hope my team wins the pennant. Right now, you're hoping the team comes in sixth place, and you get to the first round, and you got a bunch of cripples like Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, and my friend thinks those guys are good. They're cripples, right?
Well, but the one thing he can say, though, obviously it's not an every year thing, he does have some championships in basketball.
He does, the bad boys, but he doesn't have many years.
Actually, wait a minute. You want to know something? Actually, if you think about it, that last Piston team was an organic growth team with no superstars, if you remember.
Isaiah.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the next championship that had what were the guys that had the big guy in the middle who was a no name? They had I'm thinking.
You're talking about Ben Wallace.
There you go.
Hamilton.
All those guys were organically grown, that team. Matter of fact, they went on to play the Lakers, I believe, in the championship, and they were not favored in that championship.
No, but I guess you got to give him credit. In this lifetime, he roots for the Detroit Lions every year.
Oh, poor thing.
So this guy,
His Thanksgivings must be terrible every year.
his team won one playoff game. He's 65 years old. They won one playoff game. Talk about a loser, right? Loser head, right?
Marty, you're talking about these super teams. I kind of felt the opposite the last couple of days. I feel like there's a lot more parity. As a Nets fan, I'm thrilled. There's more parity in the East now. Got a little weaker. The 76ers probably not a team to beat, I think.
Hold on. You're Brooklyn because you got Kyrie who thinks the world is flat. So you're rooting for a guy who thinks the world is flat. You understand that?
I rooted for Jason Kidd. That was a lot worse than Kyrie.
But he only smacked his wife.
Right, exactly.
He smacked his wife out. But you got Kyrie who thinks the world is flat. He doesn't get along with Stevens, the coach. Everybody gets along with Stevens, right? He's poison, by the way. You're gonna hate Kyrie this year, and then you got the crippled Durant coming in the year.
By the way, and I'm glad you mentioned it. The one thing that we seem to always forget, and the media certainly seems to forget, on paper it looks delicious, right? But that doesn't win championships. You got to do it on the court.
Kyrie can't win a championship without LeBron. I mean, he's not normal, this human being. I mean, you think you like Kyrie, Jeff?
I do like Kyrie. I don't think he's the guy. I think you need another guy, like you said. And who knows what Durant is?
What? You think Durant? So he's gonna be 32 years old.
Yeah, I don't love that.
Really?
I don't love that. No, I don't.
So don't you think the Knicks did the smart thing by not signing these guys?
Yeah, I don't think Durant was the right way to go. I mean, do you think Durant was the right way to go, John?
Listen, it's Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
so
maybe it is.
Whoa.
Marty, you came back from an Achilles injury.
Yeah, but I'm also a Jewish guy.
You went on to dominate the Jewish League after that.
They dominated the Jewish League. I mean, really, I mean, it's like, but I'm saying, though, you're a Brooklyn fan.
Dominique came back from an Achilles injury.
Yeah, no, how good was that team? Were they, 12 games?
Actually, no, he came back and we traded him that year after he came back, but he went on. He went on to play well for the Clippers, though.
John loves any opportunity to bring Dominique into a conversation.
No doubt.
Any opening for Dominique, he's going to bring it in. It's like me with Eli on the other end of it.
Hold on, do you think Dominique was the most overrated superstar of all time?
Absolutely not. That's not. He's a Hall of Famer and deserved to be in the top 50 players of all time.
I said the overrated superstar. What did he ever win?
Well, he didn't have anybody around him. He didn't have Durant. He had Cliff Livingston. Rivers, no good. Missed 2 free throws. They knocked Boston out of the playoffs. He clanked them. No good. No good. Rivers, yeah. The Atlanta could close the series out in 6 and 87, and he clanked 2 free throws down the stretch. And you know what Bird did? He took his hand and put it around his neck. Well, they both play. How many more points does Dominique need to score on the road?
How many games called it? You ever hear Bill?
How did we get into a Dominique conversation?
Your record is what your record is, right?
Well, they had a good year. Listen.
Did they win it? Hold it. When you go into the year, did they give you a trophy for coming in second place?
They do not. Ed, you'll never get a trophy with rooting for 6th place.
By the way, shouldn't there be a resume that you have to put out when you become a talk show host of rooting for a team that wins?
It was
you put Atlanta Falcons up for 28-3. You got the Braves that won 1 championship in 10 years, the best pitching staff of all time. You're a loser also.
Well, you know what, though? Not this year, because the Falcons will play in at least a conference championship. You watch. You watch.
How many times have you said that to me in your life?
Let's see. I know you about 30 years. I'd probably say probably about 25.
But listen, you got it. I don't know. I think we have to reevaluate sports. I think they should just start all over again. I mean,
all of them? Which ones?
No, this.
By the way, how come we don't have super teams on hockey? By the way,
we don't have.
Right. Right. So that may have something to do with it also.
What's that?
I said that could have something to do with it also. Is a hard cap.
I mean, but even David Jeff, who's the Brooklyn fan, I mean, these guys, they talk to each other, then they want to go play with each other. I mean, it's like, don't you feel bad for there being, the teams that really try to build a team, and then all of a sudden some guys just decide they want to play together, and then they're a great team.
By the way, Philadelphia in some ways have not built a super team, so to speak. But I'll tell you what, when they acquired Al Horford this week, they've grown organically between the point guard and the center, and they've brought in some pieces, and they brought in maybe 2 pieces. So I believe it or not, today they have to be favored as the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. I don't know about the Celtics. I don't know. They seem a little discombobulated a little bit.
Not a very good league, is it?
The East certainly is not very good.
Well, are you for the Hawks to come in 6th place also?
This year I would root for them to come in 6th place. Absolutely.
And you would be happy with that?
For this year, for their growth, sure. Well, I'm realistic. They're not going to win the East.
6 is the worst because you're
8th is.
But you don't get a lottery.
Well, they're young. You got to get there. You're not going to win the conference with all the young kids.
I agree, but how do you root for 6th? You don't get a pick. You don't get anything.
I'm rooting for the playoff appearance.
That's a waste. 6th.
Right.
Who roots for 6th?
No, I never root for Tank. That to me doesn't. No tanking. These are professional athletes.
Oh, come on. Okay, so listen. I hope
Yeah.
we could be talking about 6th place Atlanta Hawks or 6th place Detroit Pistons, which is really
We're going to be fighting it out with the Pistons for the 6th seed.
You and Ed be fighting it out. But listen, I hope you win the division. I hope you win it all with Kyrie. I hope he doesn't have a mental breakdown. Where does he go? By the way, here's a better question. We should ask all your people. Where does Kyrie want to go after Brooklyn?
That's a good question.
After he has his breakdown, that he doesn't like playing at home. He's going to start crying. They don't like playing.
Well, he's not 24 though. I mean, I don't think he's going a million other places. I mean, this is not a situation.
Well, this is good.
And he has to wait. Don't forget, he also has to wait a year. He understands that this year is not the year. He understands they're waiting for.
No. Forget about that. He is not stable, so you don't know what.
Okay, I mean, you're right. I don't disagree with you.
So where do you? Why don't we take a vote now? Where do you think he ends up when he has his breakdown?
Well, we know LeBron needs
The
a player, right?
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, really?
You think he goes back to the Lakers?
I think so.
I don't know. All right, I got to get out of here for news, Marty.
Hey, Jeff, let's keep an eye on John this week with his freedom. He has freedom.
Yeah. We'll watch out for him.
And by the way, his wife's asleep right now in Israel. You can't hear a word he's saying.
All right, we'll be back after the top of the hour. You're listening to Talking Sports. I'm John Friedman. We'll be right back.
Advertisers trying to reach potential customers in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world are having a difficult, if not impossible, time figuring out how to do so. There are so many options, from the traditional media to the practically limitless digital and social platforms that are available, making it harder than ever for businesses to get their message in front of the right audience. There is a solution, however, and it's called SCG Advertising and Public Relations. SCG is a full-service advertising and public relations agency that can help you navigate through today's chaotic media landscape and reach your potential customer. We help our clients strengthen their relationships
Chuck, just so you know,
and brands by integrating your message across the entire media spectrum.
We're going to go ahead and get rid of the somber part of sports this week. We're going to talk about the deaths this week or whatever. I want to get that out of the way. And then after that, we'll go to an update.
So learn more about us by visiting scgadv.com. That's scgadv.com. We'll help you reach your customers.
We got Tyler Skaggs. We got Jared Lorenzen. We got the Dolphins guy having his arm amputated from a car accident this week. There's a fourth one. Oh no, I thought the guy 71. He's in the Los Angeles Marathon. He broke the record for that 70-year-old marathon, but they found out and they went back and looked, and he left the course and entered it back to somewhere.
And according to Dr. Lucy from Caltech, she said this could go on, and I agree with her. This could go on for 2 years.
Meteorologist Chad Myers points out Japan is still seeing seismic activity from the big quake that damaged the Fukushima nuclear reactor in 2011. Governor Gavin Newsom has placed California's Office of Emergency Services on its highest alert and requested federal help. And Newsom thanks President Trump for giving him a call.
One area where there's no politics, where we've worked extraordinarily well together, is on emergency response, recovery, and increasing that emergency preparedness.
In South Carolina, former Vice President Joe Biden apologized for recent comments he made about how he was able to maintain civil relations with segregationist senators in the 1970s in order to reach agreement on legislation.
Was I wrong a few weeks ago to somehow give the impression to people that I was praising those men who I successfully opposed time and again? Yes, I was. I regret it. I'm sorry for any of the pain or misconception they may have caused anybody.
Biden said his opponents ignore the 8 years he spent as President Obama's vice president and said he'll take Obama's judgment of Biden's record and character over anyone else's. In New York, billionaire financier and registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested on sex trafficking charges related to alleged crimes committed between 2002 and 2005. Epstein is a wealthy hedge fund manager who once counted as friends former President Bill Clinton, Great Britain's Prince Andrew, and President Donald Trump. I'm Evan Haney.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Message data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape?
I emailed that 1 second clip in the studio. You want to use it?
Frank's right.
Tell
Just
them,
text
tell them that you did.
Whenever you say something bad about the Mets, just come go. How funny was that?
Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text TIP to 321321. That's TIP to 321-321.
Talk Radio 77 WABC with Bernie and Sid in the morning. Curtis and Juliet.
I have noticed, though, that the birds are starting to multiply. We've got cardinals, we have blue jays, they're everywhere. It's like we have a little...
Hey, John, how are you?
Izzy!
We do have hawks.
You need more time, boss, or you...
No, whatever.
Okay, coming back to you in about 10 seconds, man.
I know.
New for your middays. Curtis and Juliet. Weekdays noon to 3 on Radio 77 WABC. The following program does not necessarily reflect the views of WABC Radio. It's Saturday evening. Time for Talking Sports. Here's your host, Jonathan Friedman.
All right, we're back. We're talking sports on a Saturday evening with me, John Friedman. Give me a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-9222. That's 800-848-WABC. Models.com. Izzy is in the house. What's happening to Isder? The Isder. That's what I came up with, the Isder.
How you doing tonight, my
How
brother?
are you? Did you come from spinning records somewhere?
It's so funny. Not tonight, but speaking of spinning records,
Yeah.
I was actually listening back to myself in the car on my way down to the station here. And, it's so funny because, I feel like when you're on the air, it's almost like a different kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Because you hear yourself going out over the air, and then when you listen to yourself, I feel like it's almost just like, you know what, that actually didn't sound as bad or as good as I kind of thought it was. It's so weird. It's just like there's just...
Well, I know when I see you go Facebook Live during the week and you get me all pumped up there. You got the urban music going, and I get going. So glad to have you. He wasn't with us last week, so glad to have you back.
Oh, thank you, man.
So let's go over. I just want to go ahead. I'd be remiss if I don't go over some of the not so great news in sports this week, as we all know about the Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs, who I guess died in his sleep while in a hotel room in Texas as they were getting ready to play the Rangers. Had just gotten into town last Sunday, the California Angels, and just a sad thing. When you're on a team, right, guys? When you're on a team, they're your family. You're with them 6-8 months a year, and these guys, wake up the next morning and are told one of their teammates is not with them anymore, or what? I guess they knocked on the guy's door and he wouldn't answer, or whatever happened. And you could, obviously, now their game got canceled that night, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just a terrible, and no matter what, doesn't matter what the autopsy report's going to come with at this point, doesn't matter. But just a really sad thing. And then, strangely enough, I'm preparing for the show on Wednesday, and I see this article on literally Wednesday afternoon. Want to get as much done before the holiday, and I was going to sit back here and crack fun kind of jokes because there was a report that Jared Lorenzen was in a hospital, but doing much better and what have you. And then hours later, it's reported he died.
Yep.
So it reported he died, and so obviously felt terrible what had happened in those few hours from the time I was prepping to then. And what's interesting with that is that he took his weight issue seriously. He had lost 100 pounds.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he lost 100 pounds. But what happens is
he was playing in that new league.
No, really?
For a while. He's playing that new whatever that name of that league
when
was.
you're built like that, and then you drastically change your body and you lose 100 pounds for your organs and everything else is kind of like, what's going on?
That's why I don't do it.
I'm laughing, but
I shouldn't joke. I felt horrible when I heard the story.
But just a terrible thing, and a very good quarterback in the SEC for Kentucky too. Not to be forgotten. So that was bad, and then didn't end this week with Dolphins Dolphins defensive tackle Kendrick Norton had his arm amputated and remains hospitalized after a car crash in Miami area early Thursday morning. Florida Highway Patrolman Lieutenant Alex Camacho said his Ford F-250 driven by the 22-year-old Norton crashed into a concrete barrier on State Road 836 near Miami. The truck overturned and came to a rest on its roof. And, here's a kid on top of the world. He's on the national football team. And by the way, anybody who dies has accidents, no matter, it doesn't have to be sports. It's always terrible. I always like to remind people of that. We only hear about the stars or this or entertainment, but when I die, when everybody, whatever, it's always terrible. This kid's on top of the world, and that's it for his career. And just like that, your life can change on a dime. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Right. By the way, that's why I never begrudge a player getting every penny they
absolutely
can get.
And I'm glad you brought that point up, because that's a great point. And their lives as professionals are not long lived.
Right.
So anyway, condolences to those two death situations, and hate to report on it. And I know it's days ago, but we had to, and it'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it and let it know that with all the fun things we have here on this show, the comedy and the laughing and the analyzing, you can't forget, that stuff. And unfortunately, that's just a part of things. All right, Chuck, why don't you get us updated on what's happening in baseball scores and all the stuff out there?
Well, before I get into that, Johnny, did you see today that Indians pitcher Carlos Carrasco got diagnosed with leukemia?
I did not see that.
Yeah, terrible. But they did say that he expects to come back by the end of the month. So
good for him. Good for him. That is exactly the Alex Trebek attitude.
I guess they got it early enough, right?
Yeah. So now on a lighter note, into scores.
Yeah, let's keep it on a lighter note the rest of the night here.
All right, the Red Sox are currently up over the Tigers 8-6 in the bottom of the 7th. Mets are beating the Phillies 6-5 in the bottom of the 8th. I'm hoping Edwin Diaz comes into the 9th. Cardinals and Giants are tied with 1 in the 3rd. Rockies are up 1-0 over the Diamondbacks in the bottom of the 3rd. Padres and Dodgers are scoreless after 4. A's have a 2-0 lead over the Mariners in the bottom of the 4th. Earlier today, the Rays walked off on the Yankees. Former Met great Travis d'Arnaud hit the walk-off home run. I hope Jeff likes that.
Come get us.
They won 4-3.
After we're gone.
The Twins beat the Rangers 7-4. Orioles over the Jays 8-1. Nationals blanked the Royals 6-0. Pirates all over the Brewers 12-2. Marlins passed Johnny's Braves 5-4. Indians over the Reds 7-2. Astros blanked the Angels 4-0. And the Cubs beat their crosstown rivals, the White Sox 6-3.
Now, interesting is we're watching the Mets game here in the studio, and the Mets, I think, are up by 1. So is it 6-5 right now? Yeah. So I have to tell you, Chuck, I don't know, you must have seen this. So they brought Diaz in against the Yankees in that second game, right? First of all, it was the ugliest save I've ever seen. It was about as ugly as, and I was telling Jeff the other day, you know what, get rid of replay, because when Didi Gore, what's his last name? When he went to unnecessarily steal second base. I know what that was. He was out when they showed that replay. They go to replay. I thought he was out. I thought he slid into the tag, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why have replay if But it would have been an interesting way to end that game, by the way. One, I didn't know why he was going to second base there. It didn't make any sense. But anyways, just thought that was pretty interesting. Now the Mets here are trying to hold on here against the Philadelphia Phillies and Diaz
is warming up in the pen as we speak.
By the way, how many games back are the Washington Nationals of the Braves? I'm going to take a look at that.
Only 6. No, since they lost, I think they're only 5 back now.
Pretty amazing. Washington's hanging in there.
The best record since
they've been red hot, yeah.
And they have a good pitching staff.
And they have a kid coming up soon, that shortstop. There's a kid who's just tearing up. Keyboom. He has
been playing games at third base in case.
Yeah, so he's going to be up soon. He's going to infuse that team too. He's like one of the top 5 prospects I think in the game.
He's a pretty big prospect.
So that's going to be a huge. That could be the level of your guy in Atlanta.
Well, the point is that Atlanta's not running away with anything.
No, not yet.
It's going to come down. Hey, did you see this story? This was my favorite story of the week. You got to laugh. That there was this guy, this Frank Meza, who competed at 70 years old in the Los Angeles Marathon and had the fastest time ever for a 70-year-old at 2 hours and 53 minutes and 10 seconds. Well, after investigation, they found out that he cheated. He left the course and came back into the course later in the marathon. So they got a 70-year-old cheating. I kind of like that, by the way.
You know what that reminds me of? This just snapped into my brain. That reminds me of Roger Clemens when he was like 40s, whatever years old, and was pitching like no player in the history of the game had ever pitched anywhere near that age. And I remember thinking this before all the steroids thing came out. I remember thinking, how on earth is this guy pitching better than ever in his whole career?
Crazy.
A great pitcher already.
Yeah.
Remember how good he was in his 40s?
He's as good as not being in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's right.
So, and then so just getting back to this thing, this guy defends himself and said, I had a GPS device on me during the track, and you can go back and look at it.
Wow.
Just kind of funny, but he does plan on running the marathon again next year. All right, Izzy, where's Izzy? You got the Modell's music ready? Oh, he knew I was going there. Save big every week at Modell's. Visit your local store for special unadvertised deals. Shop all kinds of styles from brands you love like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Champion, Unipro, and much more. Are you an athlete gearing up for the season? We've got you covered for every sport. Whether it's your first time playing or you're a seasoned veteran, Modell's is the place to go. But wait, what about professional sports? Don't worry, we've got you covered there too. Whether you're the casual or diehard sports fan, we've got jerseys, tees, hats, and much more. Modell's, you gotta go to Moe's. Jeff?
You gotta go to Moe's.
Izzy?
You gotta go to Moe's.
There you go, Chuck.
You gotta go to Moe's.
There. Don't forget you gotta go to Moe's. Anyway, so I'll tell you what, when we come back from a break, very good. We're going to talk about NHL free agency's winners and losers. Johnny's getting ready for the fantasy draft. We're going to talk about fantasy football and who's the sexy picks this year. We got more Major League Baseball and the All-Star Game. We're going to take a look at that. You're listening to Talking Sports on a Saturday evening with me, John Friedman. Give me a call on the Gotta Go to Moe's call-in line, 800-848-WABC. We'll be right back.
Many doctors in the U.S. and Canada have
Sorry about the early.
Institute for their own care. Experts in
Sorry about the early break.
surgery. No cutting, no bleeding, no drill.
No, you're good, brother.
Okay.
New York City, Philadelphia, and Beverly
Could be
Hills.
interesting.
BackInstitute.com offers information about new non-traumatic techniques. Visit Back Institute online at backinstitute.com or give them a call at 800-956-6724. That's 800-956-6724. Back Institute, award-winning spine surgeons and physicians.
So, John,
Yes.
your story about the 70-year-old reminded me of watching a 49-year-old Jamie Moyer pitch in the major leagues, throwing like 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Charlie Liebrand.
This 1,071
How
square foot
Ryan,
home features an
Ryan,
open
right?
concept.
Yeah, he
Edwin
can throw it
Diaz
hard,
is currently
though.
on the mound, about to blow another
He
save.
can right, there we go.
Curiously appointed bathrooms, full-size washer and dryer and unit, central heating, cooling, and much more. Their leasing office is open 7 days a week, and you can reach them at info@journalsquare.com or give them a call at 201-659-7100. Check out KRENJC.com for more details.
I feel like I can never get to work on time because of the trains. I mean, something's gotta change. Opinion. I find it disgusting. I find it wrong.
Listen to what he had to say. So here's my question.
When things like this happen, how come they're not pressed on it?
I'll use the word
Too
again.
tired of pitchers, by the way. He goes all over the place.
We need them and they need us.
You're 2-0, and we're close. You can tell he's like, no, you guys are like, it's one for the one play.
Wow.
Is that the one with the second goal line that came together? Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was like a whole. Okay. All right, I'll. If you anyone who's doing dive at the Mets, it's like, it's hilarious. All right, I got
Racist about the idea. Nobody said they oppose immigration. We oppose people coming into this country, breaking our laws. We're not even supposed to.
Coming back to you in a few seconds, boss.
The great one, Mark Levin. Weeknights 6 to 9. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
All right, we're back. We're talking sports on a Saturday evening with me, John Friedman. Give me a call on the Gotta Go to Moe's call-in line at 800-848-9222. We got Jeff Lax with me. We got Chuck. We've got Izzy. And we got the Mets on here in the studio here. We got Diaz, on the mound. Jeff, what's the count here?
I'm cringing. The first 2 pitches were terrible pitches. It's 2-2 now.
All right. Diaz, man, he's got a funny windup, too, by the way. I go, that's his windup. It just looks like it looks labored almost a little bit.
He's out of sorts. I mean, he's clearly out of sorts now. He's good stuff.
So growing up, by the way, this weekend and going into Tuesday, right? It's usually July 11th, was always my favorite time. And now I'm talking before cable television, when the All-Star game was going to be played.
Yep.
You know, and I don't feel like that as much, maybe because I'm an old 50-year-old guy, but that was always your friends would get together in the neighborhood. You'd come over someone's house and you'd watch the All-Star game. And hard hit back to Diaz. He got, what's his name? He got, what's his name?
I didn't see who that was.
It was Harper, yeah. Boo, Harper.
Bust.
I wouldn't call him a bust. He's got good power numbers, by the way. So anyway, it was just such a special time. And Chuck, you're younger than us. Do you still have that feeling of excitement of the All-Star game in base? Because without a doubt, it is still the best All-Star game.
I don't have as much excitement as I did when I was younger, but my friends and I still hang out to watch it. But that's also probably because we have our fantasy baseball league, so it's kind of cool to see our players, playing against each other and whatnot.
Now I get home to watch it because because it's the most pure All-Star game. It's not like the NBA where they're not they're up and down, and the NFL where nobody wants.
The home run hitting contest and all that stuff.
The home run derby was fun, but
it's too much now.
But now it's like 5 minutes per hitter and whatnot.
It takes forever.
Right,
just go back to the 10 outs.
Right, I agree with that.
In and out real quick.
I wasn't happy that Ronald Acuna got into the competition.
No,
Why not, John?
You put so much stock into that.
Yeah.
You believe that it ruins your swing?
I do.
No, it does.
I think it does. No doubt about it. I think it takes a lot out of you to try
Not
to
only
do
does it
that.
ruin swings, though, I think it also creates injuries.
It can.
I'm just curious. Do you think that Johan Santana as
foul ball?
Oh, it's foul. Do you think that no hitter that Johan Santana threw hurt the rest of his career?
Oh, without a doubt.
You believe that?
Yeah.
See, I just don't buy that stuff. If you can't go 9 innings, if you're a pitcher, I don't care if you're coming off an injury. If you're back on the mat, you think it ruined his career, Chuck? Honestly,
I think it blew out his arm.
Then why are you pitching? If one more inning, it's going to blow out. I mean, seriously, the people who say that, no, take him out in the 8th in a no-hitter, if one more inning is going to ruin the rest of your career, you got more problems.
Right, but do you know what it is?
Could have just been, hey, it was one more play for Kevin Durant.
Well, that is true, but that's a freak thing, though.
It's still what, it's like when I played basketball this week, we played with this guy who has knee problems, and he got his 3 games in on Thursday morning. He says, maybe I'll think about going to 4th. I said, you know what? You got your 3 in. Right. That's it. You don't need to go. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little different as a pro, obviously, but let me ask you in baseball. So, anyway, the All-Star games this week, I'm looking forward to watching it, and I'm home alone. So, I own the TV. I got nobody, bothering me or asking me questions during the game. So, I'll get to sit and watch the game and enjoy. So, although I do miss my wife. It's only been 2 days since she's been gone, and I'm manly enough to admit that I do miss my wife. Wait a second.
Do you give up watching sports a little bit, it sounds like to me, when you get home?
Well, let's put it this way. I learned from the first marriage that I got to put sports in the back burner once in a while. I've learned.
Really interesting.
So what I do is I try to catch up and stuff after time together, after going over the day and after whatever. I make sure I got all the bases covered first of all the things that you do, whatever. So, and I was terrible about that. Well, that or I wasn't in love or whatever it was.
I mean, like for me, it's Sunday. My wife knows Sunday. That's it. I am obsessive.
No, football wise, no. My wife's great about that. She knows whether it's 1 to 4. Right. She's even great that if I want, there's an Atlanta Falcon bar on 23rd Street here in Manhattan.
Right.
She'll even let me come in from Jersey to watch the game.
That's nice.
No problem. Where I can stay local and watch it too.
Yeah.
So, but she knows from 1 to 4 or 4 to 7. That's Atlanta Falcon time.
That's what's
so
great about football, because that's a reasonable request.
Right.
You give us Sundays, we're okay.
Right.
Right.
So, but So anyway, so you learn from those things and whatever. So no, it's not like I get home and she's hawking me about, don't watch. It's not like that.
Right.
So I think, and also as I've grown up a little bit, that it's just not as important to me to get in everything, and I don't have to see everything.
Right.
So anyway, and that's the beauty of ESPN, right?
Yeah.
You can easily get
and these fast forward games. Like
right. Well, that I can't.
I know
do.
you don't like it, but
Yeah,
that's what people are doing.
Yeah, that I can't do. But interesting enough, is this the year, by the way, Chuck, that the Mets and Yankees make a deal at the deadline? No.
Because a couple of years ago, the Yankees wanted Lucas Duda, who isn't even that good, and the Mets didn't want to trade him, and Diaz just closed the game. Shocking.
Wow.
Was it ugly? Oh, the catcher's going crazy like they won the World Series.
Hallelujah. He got 3 outs.
And you don't think like one of these pitchers and do one of these Mets pitchers get traded at the deadline? I know you feel Wheeler's going to get traded.
I think the Mets will definitely trade Wheeler.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about Syndergaard, who had a pretty poor start today. So
Yeah, 4 runs. 5
Yeah, Phillies got to him quickly.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And he's also not striking people out, which is shocking.
He's got a big contract.
No, he's still. I mean, not small,
normal.
Yeah, I mean, he's still under control for a couple of years.
Chuck, what needs do the Yankees have going into the? And by the way, I didn't trust you two. By the way, not that I don't really trust you, but I had to look into this deadline thing. And you were right. There is no. The only deadline is you got to have your postseason roster in by the 31st. Yeah, that's the only deadline on the 31st. I don't know. I don't know why they got rid of it. I guess it makes it more of a hard deadline. Which is good. So what's going to happen is I guess you're going to see a lot more action.
Well, I think they didn't want to have people just showing up in the middle of August. You're not really there. I mean, you're not part of the team when you're showing up in mid-August.
Well, I just don't think that they want trades that could be maybe unbalanced, so to speak. In other words, that could give a playoff team an advantage where teams are putting through their rosters and you get first dibs, right? Last place gets first dibs. Isn't that how that works with all that? Yeah.
Waivers, it's last place in the league.
Right.
So if like the Mets put somebody on waivers, it would be the last place team in the National League.
Right.
Which
So
is probably the Mets regardless.
Right. But my point is, I guess they don't want to make things as easy. But what I'm saying is that by July 31st should be a huge deadline day.
You know what else is happening?
Actually, there'll probably be a lot of deals before the 31st, going, from the 20th into the 31st.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. The Mets are going to start dumping people. It's going to happen.
Well, eventually, if it stays,
They're 10 games under already.
Yeah. Now 9.
Now
Right.
9 already.
Right.
But by the way, there's something developing even more interesting between the Yankees and Mets. You know what's happening? We could have a batting title chase in both New York teams.
Well, you got McNeil,
Mayhew, and McNeil.
That is
both,
crazy.
I think, leading the league.
And interesting. Did you see they both played first base in that series? LeMahieu played first base and made a great play. I saw a few scoops. And I could have swore McNeil played first base in that Yankee series. No, Chuck? Didn't McNeil play first base one of those games?
I thought Alonso was mostly in, but
you were feeding the baby.
Yeah, I was. Jeff, and another thing that we could look out for is Peter Alonso chasing Aaron Judge's rookie home run record.
Absolutely incredible. He's gonna beat it. Right? Well, how many home runs is it?
Well, because he's going into the home run hitting contest.
Yeah, he's going to the Derby, so that's it.
John, do you remember that Winfield Mattingly race?
Sure, I do remember.
How great was that?
It was good.
Wasn't that great?
It was very good.
So you could have a similar thing going on. Potentially,
except that team wasn't a playoff team, right?
They were an okay team. They weren't terrible.
No, but not a playoff.
That was your Ed Whitson team that you love so much.
Yeah, poor Ed Whitson. Poor Ed Whitson never recovered from that at all. So I went over and was taking a look. By the way, there was a lot of people, a lot of articles and stuff that's showing different guys who could be available at the trade deadline from teams like, that want to dump good players. I just wanted to give you some of these names. One of them was Billy Hamilton, the outfielder from the Royals.
Disgusting.
Why? Just because of
He's terrible.
Well, maybe that's why they're going to dump. Right-handed pitcher from the Blue Jays, Aaron Sanchez, could be available. Another DH outfielder, Domingo Santana of the Mariners. Wait, I had some other ones here.
These are not top level.
No,
the guys I want to
I wonder where this list come from. These are not exactly.
Where did I get this list from? This list is from where did I get this here?
You were probably on like page like 7.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Oh, this is from MLB Network, MLB by the way, MLB.com.
I mean, if you play fantasy baseball and you're not recognizing names, it's a problem, right?
I don't play fantasy. No, I don't play fantasy
Chuck
baseball.
is like, wait a second, who is that guy? It's like, you got to know everybody because you got to be on the lookout always.
Let me think. There was a few other guys, but you're going to see guys like
Madison Bumgarner.
Yes, that guy who's going to get. Obviously, he's going to get traded. Boy, the Giants are terrible. You know how they ever used to do the every other year kind of thing. There hadn't been any every other year kind of thing. Yeah, they aged. They did. And although he's still having a good year.
Yeah, he's all
right. And there was. Oh, and here's another one I saw at positions. This was the good one here. So, courtesy of Mark Feinsand of where is this from here? MLB too. Yeah. So he has at first base Justin Smoke could be available from the Blue Jays. He's a decent player.
He's all right.
D. Gordon of the Mariners, nice little second baseman, bench guy, right? Freddie Galvis, the shortstop from the Blue Jays.
He's the first name you mentioned that I think is going to bring real value.
Yeah.
He's having a great year.
We got now this I couldn't see the Nationals doing, and I don't know why this would even be in part of that. Maybe the Nationals weren't playing well when I saw this. Anthony Randone of the Nationals, never making that.
He's a free agent at the end.
Oh, well.
He's a free agent this year?
That could be.
Wow, he is going to get a contract. Wow.
We got from the Tigers outfielder Nicholas Castellanos. Yep.
He's a solid player. I would take him.
Your boy, because the Yankees just don't have room for him. Outfielder Clint Frazier, not to a National League team because he can't play defense. We got Hunter Renfroe of the Padres. Kind of interesting there.
He's having a good year too.
And we've got and they also have a good closers, the Padres too.
Yates, Kirby
Yeah,
Yates.
he's kind of like that guy in San Diego. They had a good closer last year who got traded to Cleveland. Right. And then you got Madison Bumgarner, as we talked about. So, and Will Smith, a pitcher with the Giants. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed here also, Mr. Kimbrell hadn't been so good.
No, he is not. You called that. By the way, you get tons of mad respect for that.
How about that?
Because you called that.
Now, he could still be in his quote-unquote spring training.
Yeah, he is.
But, just something about him, that I've always seen him. I saw him with Atlanta in big kind of situations where he couldn't get it done. And a lot of regular season kind of close, get it done, but not in a big spot. Yeah. But listen, he's still a good closer, and maybe he's still kind of in spring training. Quickly, just taking a look at the leads in the National and American League in baseball. Nothing that's really standing out. Yankees have a 7.5 game lead in the American League East, and they're going to end up running away with this. Tampa Bay kind of got, although Tampa Bay's 12 games over, so we'll see how they do going into this. So we'll see how that turns out. But I just see the Yankees running away. Cleveland, I brought this up last week. Cleveland's only 6 back of Minnesota right now. So a long way to go there in the central of the American League. And Houston is 8 games up on Texas in the American League in the West. Atlanta with a 6-game lead or 5-game lead on Washington, not Philadelphia. Chicago with only in a 1.5 game lead. They're tied with Milwaukee right now, and only a 1.5 game lead with St. Louis. And Pittsburgh is only 3 games back. And so that division right there is going to come down to the end of the season. And the Dodgers are totally run away with the West. They're 14.5 games in first place there. So that's going to the All-Star break. That's a look at that. All right, we got somebody here. We got Mark. Let's go to the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line. Let's go to Mark in Plainview. Mark, you're on Talking Sports on a Saturday evening.
Hey, John, how are you?
How are you? Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call.
I'm a proud Brooklyn Nets season ticket holder. This is my 9th year as a Nets season ticket holder.
Good for you. You must be happy.
I'm very happy, and the reason why I was calling is I think the East looks so weak now with Kawhi going to the West. It only gives Brooklyn a better chance to get a higher seed.
Yeah, definitely. There's no question about it.
Do you agree with me? Not next year. I mean, for next year, for just next year, and obviously Durant's not going to play to the following year at full strength, so to speak. That Philadelphia right now could be the team in the East that's the best right now?
I'd say say so, but I'm a conspiracy theorist a little bit. I think if the Nets are Game 7, late run in the playoffs, I think Durant's all of a sudden feeling better.
Could be. By the way,
It's not a year, though, right?
Yeah, well,
Just about a year.
He could probably maybe get back by March, maybe. But in the long term, they're not going to push it for a playoff run. You know what I mean? They're going to let him get healthy. They put too much in. There's too much in him.
That's unlike any other. Remember, Ewing had Achilles issues too.
Oh, it's the worst injury you can have in sports. There's no other worse injury than the Achilles. So, what's your opinion on Kyrie Irving? Are you happy to have him? And you know who I like on your team that you got from my team, which is a nice complimentary player. Two bench guys you have. You have obviously Damari Carroll, but you also have Prince from Atlanta. He's a nice bench player too.
Yeah, Prince is going to be pretty good. A lot of upside in, but Carroll, I'm pretty sure he got traded.
Carroll did get traded? Did he? He did. I didn't know that. Jeff, did you know that Damari Carroll got traded?
I believe so.
We'll have to look. Thank you for telling me that. I did not know that. So, by the way, Prince is the same kind of player as Damari Carroll.
Oh, wow.
Same kind of player. Literally the same kind of player. With maybe a little bit more offensive skills than Damari Carroll. We got to look. Can you Google that for me, Chuck? I did not know that Damari Carroll. It'd be interesting to see where he went. He's a good and they were able to get rid of that contract too. I think
he's on the Spurs.
He got traded to the Spurs. That's a nice addition for the Spurs. That got nobody knew about that, by the way. I didn't know that. But Mark, thank you so much for telling me that. Learn something new every day. And maybe that's why they ended up getting Prince in that deal with Atlanta. So, hey, how's the player Atlanta got in that deal?
Would they end up trading Allen Crabbe?
Yes.
Yeah, Allen Crabbe is a streaky shooter. I don't know why Sean Marks is so big on him. I think we overpaid for him. They kind of let Portland get the deal the previous year. Then they traded for him. They actually, I don't know if you remember, there was an offer sheet. Portland matched it, and the Nets traded for him.
Interesting. I like the Nets team, and by the way, I liked the Nets team before they did all this. So I think they're building a nice thing there, and it's almost good. By the way, I don't mean good, but that these guys aren't going to play with Durant, have to continue to learn to play together, kind of thing, and be a hard-nosed team. And then when Durant's ready to go, they should be really, really super.
Could be. Definitely could be.
Let me put it in perspective. My ticket went up more than $900 after the announcement.
Where do you sit?
I sit in the upper level, like where the real fans sit.
So let me ask you, what were? Can you tell us what you? I'm just curious. What did you pay last year, and what is it this year?
Well, last year I paid $1,200. This year I'm paying $1,300, but we had to do a 2-year price lock in order to get the $1,300 price.
They get you.
Wow. So is that all game? Is that every game? Is that 40 games?
43 games.
Oh, they make you buy. I thought the football teams are the only ones. Did they make you buy preseason games?
They make us buy preseason, and to do it even worse, they put a preseason game this year at Nassau Coliseum. Not included in our plan.
Oh my gosh.
Brett Yormark's a smart guy. He knows what.
I'd say so. I thought his only smart move in history was chasing a Winston Cup.
I'm just curious. Can you sell these tickets? Can you make your money back if you want to? If you can't go to a game here or there?
I can sell my tickets definitely, but I actually prefer to sell them to friends and give them the person and put it online. That way.
I'm just always curious because I have this issue with the Giants. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
How did you, Mark? How did you feel on Sunday night last week?
Oh, I was ecstatic. I was on the job as I am now when I found out about it, and I was like, wow. Can't be. No free agents ever want to come to Brooklyn before. I mean, the best player in Nets history is Jason Kidd, and we got him in a trade. Vince Carter obviously was also a trade.
Great. I'm happy for Nets fans. Because it came. They may have had inklings that this was going to happen or wanted it to happen, but it happened, and it's got to feel good. They did it over the Knicks. That's got to feel good.
No question.
And right downstairs here is not the Mecca of basketball anymore.
That's a great point. People
don't Mark, thanks for the call. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, people don't remember that the Mets stole the city from the Yankees in the 80s. So it is possible to accomplish this type of thing where if the Nets dominate the basketball, talk and people are going to Nets games and they're doing good and the Knicks are still pathetic, could happen.
It very well could happen. So, it's going to happen. There's right now, no matter, and again, the Nets are still learning and trying to get over, they're learning to win and get better from last year. The buzz is there.
Yeah.
There's no more buzz at the Garden.
No.
Now, but the interesting thing about it is, and I have they're still going to, by the way, sell out the Garden.
Yeah.
They'll still do that, and they'll have their buzz amongst themselves, so to speak. But from a New York standpoint, overall, it's Brooklyn.
Isn't it amazing that they're still able to sell out the Garden?
And by the way, this would not have happened at the Meadowlands.
With the Nets.
Yeah. Or in Newark.
I agree. Nobody was going to those playoffs. I remember when the Nets were in the playoffs in those years, the early 2000s. Nobody was there for the playoffs. I used to be able to show up, and this is before the internet. I was scalping tickets in person. You can get arrested in those days for doing that. And I would pay below face value.
Crazy.
For the Nets. I went to a playoff game in 01, 02, below face value.
Oh, I used to get good seats when Atlanta was there, just because, road teams or whatever. The Nets were. All right, let's go back to the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line. Let's go to Kenny in Bayside. Kenny, welcome to Talking Sports on a Saturday evening.
Am I the first caller ever to this show?
Yeah, you're not. How are you?
Great. I'm doing great. First of all, the Knicks fans, Dolan should know that Alfred E. Newman is available because Mad Magazine is closing up.
Yeah, I heard that.
Believe it. It takes the heart out of me. I would get my news from Mad Magazine, Saturday Night Live, and the National Enquirer. Now I'm down to the Saturday Night Live and National Enquirer. I mean, Dolan is one of these guys. Everyone, you're around the person who just nerves everybody up, and people are on the edge. That's what he is. That's why no one wants to come here. But if they had true free agency, maybe people would come because he would just throw a number at somebody and they would just come because it was big money. But it's not really free agency that they have. And I'm just worried about this because they talk about the guys in that other station. They're talking about the ABA and who cares about that stuff? It's 100 years ago and stuff. But also with the Yankees, I think Clint Frazier's not going anywhere. I think he's staying there. I think he'll be on at least a 40-man roster, possibly 25-man roster on August 1st. Everyone's looking to trade this guy. It's like they just throw this guy's name out now. It's just a thing to do. I don't like that.
Well, what they send him down for? What they said, if they were going to keep him, what they said he was hitting.
Well, they sent him down because it's just a numbers game right now. Let's face it. I've called for years. They got to go to. If you're going to use all these relief pitches and all these pitches, you got to expand the roster. They finally listened to me. Next year they're going to go to 26, but I said 27. They listened to me finally. And also the National League needs the DH. Go Buchanan. Go Buchanan. Go Buchanan. Go Buchanan. Go Buchanan. Go.
The National League needs it.
Go Buchanan. Go Buchanan.
Go Buchanan, whatever that means.
Pat Buchanan.
Oh, Pat Buchanan.
He was talking about Pat Buchanan.
Got it. Is he still with us? No, he's not.
He was telling people to go buy Pat Buchanan's book.
Oh, okay, great.
That was I couldn't follow anything that guy was saying.
You want to know if he was the first caller
until
Has he been listening to the show? I don't know. Maybe he hasn't been. All right, Izzy, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we'll continue talking some NBA. We'll talk Major League Baseball. I see my son just made a comment on Facebook. Dad, you got to know DeMarre Carroll was traded. I can't know everything. You're listening to Talking Sports on a Saturday evening with me, John Friedman. Give me a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-9222. We'll be right back.
Advertisers trying to reach potential customers in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world.
I have a friend named Jeffrey
It's not impossible time
Like a
figuring out how
billionaire
to
guy,
do so.
sexual
There are
guy
so
in New York
many
now.
options, from the
They'll
traditional
come back
media
up.
to the practically limitless digital and social platforms that are available, making it harder than ever for businesses to get their message in front of the right audience. There is a solution, however, and it's called SCG Advertising and Public Relations.
That didn't have a lot of publicity to DeMarre Carroll. Oh, he's on the phone. He's on with Leslie.
We help our clients strengthen their relationships,
Where was he from? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if he. I finally went like that.
I thought it was funny how long you gotta go. It's funny what the guy can do that.
to determine the best creative and
Bizarre.
media plan for your business. So learn more about us by visiting scgadv.com.
listening.
That's
That's all I care about.
scgadv.com. We'll help
That's
you
it.
reach your customers, all of them.
What Do You Think, Marty is sponsored by Brown & Brown Metro. They do insurance from homeowners,
You should have grabbed onto that
workers'
patent
compensation,
thing.
business
I
insurance,
love
group
that you
health,
let him go. I
casualty,
love it.
and life
Because he
insurance.
found it.
Visit
I want to
Brown
see
&
how
Brown
long did you
Metro
do
on
that
the
for?
web at
I think it's hilarious.
bbmetro.com or give them a
Because he
call
expects
at
you to cut him off, and you let him go. It's great.
973-549-1900. Visit Brown &
Well, I
Brown
did go like
Metro on
this.
the web at
I don't know if they cut him or he
bbmetro.com
hung up.
or
Then you
give
have to
them a
take a
call
break from
at
you. It's hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
973-549-1900. Brown & Brown Metro is a proud sponsor of What Do You Think, Marty?
Many doctors
Just
in the
had some
U.S.
fun
and
with Leslie
Canada
and
have
Fort Lee.
chosen the Back Institute for their own care. Experts in
Chuck felt the
non-traumatic
same way you
spine
did last
surgery.
week. He
No
said,
cutting,
listen to the
no
show. He thought
bleeding,
the show
no
was just
drilling,
great
no
last week. The
scarring. With
synergy
offices in New York
was
City,
fabulous.
Philadelphia, and
You know
Beverly
these
Hills.
headphones today?
BackInstitute.com
Oh,
offers information about new
You guys are
non-traumatic
bloody
techniques. Visit Back
Golden
Institute
chair.
online at Back.
Hey, John.
Oh,
You can take this up to 5850, buddy.
Okay.
that's 800-956.
You, after we take the Leslie thing or whatever, bring it up. No, you bring it. I've got 1,000 things to bring it up.
Advertisers trying to reach potential
Stop being
customers in today's
conservative.
fast-paced
No,
technology-driven
don't,
world
man. Let it
are having a
go.
difficult, if not impossible time figuring
I
out how
don't
to
do
do
that.
so.
If
There
you
are
don't
so
know that by
many
now,
options, from the traditional media to the practically limitless
you're not
digital
Sid
and social
Rosenberg.
platforms that are available, making it harder than ever for businesses to get their message in front of
Okay,
the right
two on
audience.
hold here. I got
There is a
Leslie and
solution,
Fort Lee and
however, and
Dave
it's
from
called
Franklin. Hey,
SCG
a lot of calls
Advertising and
tonight.
Public Relations. SCG is a full-service advertising and public
Good
relations
sign.
agency that can help you
Build,
navigate
build,
through today's
build.
chaotic media landscape
That's why I'm
and
glad we
reach your
didn't take off
potential
this week.
customer. We help
Because I
our
thought
clients
about it.
strengthen their relationships, reputations, and brands by integrating your message across the entire media spectrum. The
I
folks
bet you
at
this David
SCG
Franklin
understand
says
the
can
options available
say
to
something about that
advertisers
other
and
caller.
will work
Why?
with you to determine the best creative and media plan for your business. So learn more about us by visiting scgadv.com. That's scgadv.com. We'll help you reach your customers, all of them.
Talk Radio 77 WABC and Maimonides Medical
Coming back in 40, my friend.
Got it.
season by announcing the Celebrity Softball Battle for Brooklyn. Come out to Coney Island's MCU Park on July 24th to root for your favorite hosts and celebrities as they play to benefit the new state-of-the-art Maimonides Prostate
Going
Center.
quickly tonight,
Talk
too, by
Radio
the way.
77
What's
WABC
that?
will be led by Bernie and Sid in the morning.
I don't like that guy. He's on again tomorrow. With that other one, that was sick. All right,
I don't like
done. I don't think he's good.
No.
At all.
If I see him on 5 or 9.
He's on TV. I think he's gonna hit them.
At strikecancerout.org and WABCRadio.com.
We get more calls than All right, we're back. We're talking sports on a Saturday evening. I'm John Friedman. Jeff Lax is here. Izzy's with us. We got Chuck giving us updates on scores, and we got Dave from Franklin Square. Hold on with us, Dave. Leslie in Fort Lee, you're on Talking Sports on a Saturday evening.
I told you last week, it didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me. I said that Durant and Irving will sign with the Nets, and here it is.
Well, wait a minute. I think you said to me last week, unless I'm wrong, that I said I thought he was going to go back to Golden State, or you said it for, and I thought he was going to go back there.
You're absolutely right. Good point. But I did say it wouldn't surprise me. I did mention it would be a nightmare for Dolan if this actually happened. Yeah, let me preface this. I mentioned to you it would be a nightmare if Dolan and if Durant and Irving could take
That you did. Yep.
And you know what? It turned out to be true. And you know what? This is the lowest moment in franchise history, John. You cannot sugarcoat it. You can't put it any other way. Because when I was a kid growing up, okay, I grew up in the 90s, okay? Nobody ever thought in that era, that the Knicks would get outbid by the Nets. Okay, the Knicks would lose Durant and Irving to the Nets.
No doubt.
And you know what? They did. And to me, that's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment to a once proud organization. So let's play the scorecard here. Not only did the Knicks lost that to the Nets, they lost that to the Clippers. I mean, if this is not embarrassing, I don't know what is, because I'm embarrassed because the Knicks used to have a proud history here. Now Dolan destroyed everything, and the younger generation are going to become Nets fans sooner or later, John.
Yeah, well, I think that they're already on that path of becoming it, especially when you bring in superstars. I mean, that's what they cling to that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we never even talked about this is merchandise.
Yep.
That stuff's going to sell off the charts.
Right. You're not going to see Barrett jerseys in New York. You're going to see Kyrie jerseys.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? I've been to Brooklyn. I've been to the area near Barclays Center. There's a lot to do there. I mean, it's not Manhattan, but Brooklyn is not like Staten Island.
It's becoming Manhattan. If you go, it's different than it was 10 years ago.
And it's busy down there.
And you know what I think?
Big old Modell's right there too. By
yes. And you know what they did, which I think was very smart? The black jerseys. I love the black.
Yeah, they're nice.
Because it gives you a totally different badass feel, right? Than the Knicks classic beautiful jersey.
Like the Raiders. It's kind of like the Raiders of the Eastern.
Absolutely. There's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is Dolan's worst nightmare. I'm going to tell you something. Don't be surprised, guys, if the Knicks make the Russell Westbrook trade. I know Dolan does not like losing that to the Nets.
Well, by the way, that's probably not a bad idea. I'll tell you why it's not a bad idea. Because there's no superstars on that team that could have an issue with Russell Westbrook.
But then you take yourself out of the lottery for next year. Aren't you the one who says?
No, I don't think they're good enough for that. I don't think they're with him or without him. I don't think they're a playoff team. And not a bad idea. And Leslie, that might be in their back pocket right there.
Yeah, I mean,
from a PR standpoint, it may soothe the sore a little bit.
Not only that, you need to get stores you need to get people to come to the Garden. Okay, I was listening to Stephen A. Smith on 98.7 ESPN New York this afternoon. He was mentioning that you need to entertain the fans. You need to get a name that fans can latch on. You need to get a player that fans will come to the Garden to watch, and that's Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry.
What would the Knicks have to give up to get him?
They will give up Barrett, Knox, Robinson. Dolan will do it. Trust me, I'm telling you, Dolan does not like losing out to the Nets. He's going to have to do something to erase the blow of what happened on Sunday. And I think that's why I feel he's going to overrule his basketball people. And I feel he's going to get involved and make sure he gets that star player. Because he cannot go and lose out to the Nets. He's got to get a reason to bring people to go out to watch MSG, go to the games at MSG. He needs to get that player. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes after Russell Westbrook. This is the same guy that once usurped Donnie Walsh's authority and got Carmelo Anthony here. So I think, I know James Dolan's getting a lot of heat. He's got to do something.
It's certainly a great fallback position. Leslie, thank you so much for the call and thanks for listening. You got it, buddy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. You got it. All right, let's go back to the Gotta Go to Mo's calling line. Dave from Franklin Square, you're on Talking Sports on a Saturday evening.
Good morning. The marathoner you were talking about, Dr. Frank Meza.
Yeah.
Let's get the name down.
Well, they found him floating in the Los Angeles River, and he had multiple forms of ID, so apparently he took his life.
What? Is that true?
If you look at today's Daily News, if you look up...
He committed suicide?
He carried multiple forms of ID and medical license and voter registration records match his home address and date of birth.
Are you serious? Are you being, really? Because of the story or anything?
I'm imagining he was a man with
Well, I feel bad. I'm sitting here laughing about him cheating in the
I
marathon.
didn't hear about any of this, but if that's true, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, like I said, you can Google Dr. Frank Meza, 70 years old, and see what I'm talking about.
Hey, thank you for the information.
It's amazing that Machado and Noah Harper had made the All-Star team.
Machado, who was the third one?
No, I just said Machado and Harper didn't make the
Oh, Machado. Well, Harper's not. You keep saying he's.
Well,
okay, but he's not
Harper
like
has. By the way, Harper's power numbers
They're good.
They're good. His on-base percentage
Yeah,
is
it's
good.
but he has
His average isn't good.
He's got a 14-year contract.
Hey, listen, don't blame him for that.
I don't blame him.
Blame the Phillies for that.
But man, that's that could be one of the worst. I mean, if he doesn't come back to be he's not superstar level right now.
Dave, how's Machado's numbers? What are they looking like?
I believe a lot of times it's expectations versus performance.
You're right.
I think it's true in many facets of life. But all of a sudden you sign them for the big dollars and they want to see you batting .333 with 25 home runs.
David, good job by you, by the way, John. He's right. I looked it up.
That's terrible.
We shouldn't joke about this. And,
That's terrible.
This guy apparently committed suicide after he was accused of cheating. Wow.
Not in the article I wrote. Did that happen today?
I didn't hear about any of this story, but David is 100% right.
Oh, gosh. That's terrible.
Well, don't mess with the Runners Club. They take care of you. So what can I say?
That's crazy.
I got to do a better job of my due diligence. That didn't come
That's a
out.
stunning story.
That must have been today. That's terrible. Actually, that
really
is terrible.
is. It's a 70-year-old guy.
And what's your thought about a game with no winning pitcher, especially a team that starts with a closer and then
I love that idea. Love it.
Set 7 pitchers and a non-credited win?
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Especially, you have a reliever comes in, gives up 2 runs to tie the game, then he gets the win in the bottom of the ninth. Come on.
Hey, leave Chapman out of this.
I don't. It happened to him recently. But, I don't even like the save. I think the save is the worst stat in baseball because I think they manage games based around a stupid stat that doesn't tell you anything really.
Yes, but the agents love it.
The agents love it. It is let me tell you something right now. If they got rid of that stat completely, baseball games would be managed smarter. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows that.
I understand that. Believe me, I understand it.
I mean, does it make sense to put Chapman in when you're up 3 runs in the 9th inning rather than tied in the 8th inning? It makes no sense.
Right.
But that's what they do.
It makes, and I'll let you go. And again, I'm saying this tongue in cheek. You were talking about the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. I know, and I'm saying it tongue in cheek. You could make the Home Run Derby the highest-rated TV show in the history of mankind. Take the kids out of the outfield with the helmets on, and either put seniors with jazzies out there with nets, or the homeless, and put a dollar amount on the balls that they get.
Right.
I'm not sure I got that. What is he saying?
I'm saying that get the kids out of the outfield with the helmets and assign a dollar value to all the balls, and either have the homeless out there fighting.
Oh, come on.
That's not a bad idea.
Come on.
Have the seniors out there with jazzies.
Oh, come on.
I think that's a good idea with the homeless.
Oh, come
I like that, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Boy, that's a terrible thing.
Yes.
And I read about this on Wednesday, and that had not happened. Does it say when this happened?
Yeah.
Don't say Wednesday.
I was looking at the article now. Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. Yeah, I did my due diligence on Wednesday. That's terrible.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
And you think about it. So why do they even need to report it? I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's easy for me to say that now, but it's 70 years old and whatever. Who cares what his time was, and who cares what unless that's a big serious thing, and and from an ethical standpoint or whatever. But by the way, let me make this clear. Unfortunately, I've had a cousin who took his life that way. That's never the one reason of what happens. Trust me. Someone's got to have issues for them to do those kind of things. So it's never one kind of thing. It's a big deal to take your life, right?
To set a record like that, it must have been very important to him, though.
Obviously.
So this is something that he was putting a lot of effort.
Well, let's hope what he's being accused of was not the case, right? Yeah, at the end of the day. But yeah, what a terrible thing.
Crazy. That's a horrible story.
Who knew that we'd be talking about that as much as we're talking about that now? And I'm glad Dave from Franklin Square, brought that to our attention. Wow.
This article, by the way, the end of the article, I'm just reading it quickly while we're on the air, so it's tough.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was very upset about the allegations.
Obviously.
And he was protesting them profusely.
Right. And he said he had GPS. You saw where I read that he had GPS on him.
Yeah. So it sounds like it did take a toll on him.
Well, and let's just hope that the running committee or whatever that runners club is didn't mess up. How bad would that be?
I mean, it's scary. It really is.
I mean, that's a terrible thing. And, so now another situation in sports, where we add to this list from this week. That's crazy. Yeah. And terrible. I'm really sorry. I'm actually sorry I even brought it up now, to tell you the truth.
Well, we didn't know that it took that turn. I mean, you're not to blame for that. I mean, no one knew.
No, I just feel terrible that, and you're right. That has that obviously had an impact on the guy. So anyway, Kevin from Yonkers, stay with us there. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get to you. I see you want to talk Knicks and Yankees. Chuck, when we get back, you'll keep us updated on what's happening in scores out there. But I also wanted to go over with you the winners and losers of the NHL free agency. I know that you always like that. It's funny how the NHL, whether it was the draft this year or their free agency, it just doesn't have it just shows you how the NHL's juice in sports in America is just not there. It's there within the stadiums and within the cities they play, but from a standpoint of national recognition, i.e. their draft or i.e. free agency, it's not as obviously it's not as big as the NBA. And what do they do to build this up?
I mean, I don't think they can, because in the NHL you got a hard cap, so you can't really have guys coming in pairing up and then teams falling into a luxury tax or whatever like how you have in the other sports. And really in the NHL, very rarely does a big marquee free agent actually go and reach free agency, because with the NHL, when you have a free agent, you can extend them a year prior to him hitting free agency, and you can always offer him that extra year on a contract. So as a free agent, would you rather take 8 years for $7 million a year, or would you rather take 7 years for $7 million? So
I know where to go. My go-to guy with NHL stuff. All right, you're listening to Talking Sports on a Saturday evening, about to hit Sunday morning with me, John Friedman. Give me a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-9222. We'll be right back.
Advertisers trying to reach potential customers in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world are having a difficult, if not impossible, time figuring out how to do so. There are so many options, from the traditional media to the practically limitless digital and social platforms that are available, making it harder than ever for businesses to get their message in front of the right audience. There is a solution, however, and it's called SCG Advertising and Public Relations. SCG is a full-service advertising and public relations agency that can help you navigate through today's chaotic media landscape and reach your potential customer. We help our clients strengthen their relationships, reputations, and brands by integrating your message across the entire media spectrum. The folks at SCG understand the options available to advertisers and will work with you to determine the best creative and media plan for your business. So learn more about us by visiting scgadv.com. That's scgadv.com. We'll help you reach your customers, all of them.
From the NJDiet.com studios, we are Talk Radio 77 WABC, New York, Cumulus Station. Thousands of aftershocks, billionaire sex trafficking arrests.
Bring it up.
One guy's like,
Lots of
we're going to take this
aftershocks
call after the
following
break.
yesterday's 7.1 earthquake centered in Ridgecrest. But meteorologist
really
Chad
funny.
Myers says
Chuck, after the break, I'm going to take this call, and then we'll do an update again, all
for
right?
a while. And I've been watching. I've been on USGS just constantly the past
And
couple
before we
hours.
go to the update,
And these are now
I'll take the
down
call,
to
but
about
before I go to the update,
every
you bring up
5
the birdie
minutes.
thing.
So that's something
That's
good.
crazy.
Myers says there have been at
Probably
least
not unusual.
4,700
The
aftershocks
fans are
so
going
far.
nuts. It's hilarious.
California
It's so
Governor
funny.
Gavin Newsom says
Why
President
was he
Trump called
cheered
him
last
about the
week?
quakes. There's no doubt in my
Because
mind
it's the
after
seven
talking with
line.
the
Those
president.
guys have to deal
He's
with the
committed.
Wilcons. They're like, chill.
John, there was also another caller who said he was going to call back at the top of the hour.
Okay.
So you might have two calls.
Where was he?
I don't know. His name was Billy.
Billy.
Yeah, Billy.
Oh, I have a feeling it's Billy in my neighborhood. Old man?
No, he sounded kind of young, and he said that he was from New York.
Oh, okay. Maybe not. Okay.
Parking lot because the building was also leveled.
Correspondent Rosa Flores. Billionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested in New York on new sex trafficking charges allegedly committed between 2002 and 2005. 11 years ago, Epstein pleaded guilty to charges of soliciting a minor for prostitution in Florida. Well, he could have been sentenced to life for his crimes. Instead, Epstein was given 13 months in jail and forced to reach financial settlements with dozens of victims who had been teenagers when the crimes were committed.
Whose family owned Seasons.
Oh, really?
You know Seasons brand?
Brazilian singer, guitarist, and
Seasons
songwriter
Sardine.
João Gilberto has
I
died at the age of
You know what I'm talking
88.
about?
Gilberto was one of the fathers of bossa nova. His wife, Astrid
That guy
Gilberto,
could
sang
do
on The Girl from
suicide.
That's
Ipanema,
crazy. That's
performed with
crazy.
Stan
Over
Getz,
that?
which became a worldwide hit. I never named it.
It's crazy. It's a crazy story. I don't know what to say.
I feel bad about that.
Head to Court
Nobody
Furniture Clearance Center for up to
laughing.
70% off new retail prices.
But it was
Stock is
Wednesday.
updated regularly, so
You're
you never
gonna
know
get
what kind of
reported
treasures
on.
you'll find. And now through the end of July, save big on everything for your home or office. Mention promo code 18OFF and get 18% off your entire purchase.
I'm not laughing. No, I laugh.
Summer savings are here. Sofa and chair sets from $299.99. Task chairs from $29.99. 5-piece
Because
dining
we
sets
didn't
from
report it. I didn't report it in
$199.99
that way. I reported it in
FurnitureOutlet.com
he
today.
cheated. If I'd known he died, I would have said the Jamari Carroll.
How would you like to have a large portion of your credit card debt or medical bills forgiven? National Credit Card Relief.
I'm going to read the post tomorrow. Sports Talk show host laughs at guys.
It's not consolidation. This special program actually wipes clean a portion of your debt
a
that's
one-time
forgiven.
thing.
Call for your free forgiveness information now. 800-291-6670. That's 800-291-6670. Don't wait. Call 800-291-6670. Not available in North Dakota.
Talk Radio 77 WABC and Maimonides Medical Center are proud to kick off Brooklyn's baseball season by announcing the Celebrity Softball Battle for Brooklyn. Come out to Coney Island's MCU Park on July 24th to root for your favorite hosts and celebrities as they play to benefit the new state-of-the-art Maimonides Prostate Center. Team Talk Radio 77 WABC will be led by Bernie and Sid in the morning.
I've got Bernie first, Curtis in right, Russ Solzberg. I got the great comedian Jim Brewer at shortstop, Dwight Gooden, Jim Leyritz, Tony Sirico, Matthew Modine, Joseph Abboud, Mo Deal, and more. What a squad.
The Celebrity Softball Battle for Brooklyn, July 24th, 5 p.m. at MCU Park. Order tickets today. Learn more at strikecancerout.org and WABCRadio.com.
It's Saturday evening. Time for Talking Sports. Here's your host, Jonathan Friedman.
All right, we're back Sunday morning. Give us a call on the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line at 800-848-9222. And speaking of the Gotta Go to Mo's call-in line, let's go to Kevin in Yonkers. Kevin, you're on Talking Sports on a Sunday morning.
Man, you guys are bringing all. You got all the superstar callers calling in tonight, man.
And now we got you.
No, we have you now. Congratulations. You're number one.
Thank you very much. I'm not really a superstar caller, but Leslie is. The other guy before the Buchanan thing that sound like Steve from Manhattan. You have heavyweight, big top guys.
You know what? He's right. That's who it is.
Yeah, Jeff said you recognize that.
I recognize who. I was on another station with John, a different show, but with John a while back, and you are 100% right. That's who it was. It was Steve from Manhattan.
How about that?
Nice job.
He's a big Steve Manhattan's a big what's the game?
He's a big Yankee fan.
No, but he calls the Dina Costa show.
Yeah, he used to. But the thing with him is he's not usually a prank caller. That was very surprising.
He's using us for his prank call. What's happening, Kevin?
Right, I think years ago he was a prank caller, but not no more and stuff. You know, he claims he's banned from all these shows. I put the radio on 24 hours a day. He's calling every show. He's supposed to be banned. But anyway, again, you know, a lot of these show's good, guys. I like it very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.
Moving and stuff, and that's the most important thing. I mean, we got the girls' soccer later on in the day. I'm rooting for them. I don't care what kind of demonstrations, what kind of celebrations they do after a goal, after they win. Of course, unless they don't go over the top. You know what I'm saying? I'm rooting for those girls all the way.
Right. By the way, you don't want the T thing she did or whatever. Just beat them, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but the T thing is, what's the big deal?
No big deal. No big deal at all.
I'm saying, you know, they're ladies. First of all, I wouldn't mind going on a few road trips with them, those girls. I'm telling you, those girls are unbelievable, man, you know? And the thing, you know, I hope they win and they score 100 goals, score as many as you want, pile on forever. And
Who's carrying that tomorrow? Fox? I think Fox.
Right, but and I think it's 11 o'clock in the morning, but let's try to get our times right with that, too, because, you know, it's a 6-hour difference. And, you know, whoever knows what's good. But the girls, I hope they win and stuff. And I'm rooting for them all the way. Let them do whatever they want. Remember they took their tops off and they showed bras.
Yeah.
I mean, if they did that after every goal, I'm sure the ratings would go through the roof, you know? The other caller was a good call. He talked about the home run hitting derby. I always felt that if you had Judge, Babe Ruth, and Herman Munster in a home run hitting contest.
Herman Munster was on the show. Remember when he hit a home run at Dodger Stadium? Did you ever see that one?
That's the one
the episode, yeah.
I saw that on YouTube. Yeah, I saw that. I said that. At a certain point, remember all the Dodger players ran away.
Yeah.
Under the ground. They hit like a 500-foot home run. And you remember how that show ended? I saw it on YouTube a few months ago.
I don't remember how it ended, but I do remember what you were talking about.
It's a classic. Leo DeRozier, right? Who's obviously with the Dodgers. He ran the thing for Herman being with the batting, taking triumph of the Dodgers. So Leo Joe DeRozier and Vince Lombardi are walking out in the street on Hollywood Boulevard, like 500 miles from the park. All of a sudden, a football comes flying through and almost hits them in the head. And then Vince Lombardi goes, "Where's the closest park from around here?" And DeRozier goes, "Listen, guy, you don't want no part of that." He knows Herman kicked the football, He goes, "Yo, dude, forget about it, man. You don't want no part of that."
And he looks so funny in a Dodgers uniform.
Right.
Fred Gwynn.
Right, exactly. Oh, Freddie, baby. He was a big guy to begin with, and they had him on stilts, so he must have been like 50 feet tall.
I wonder how tall he was. I bet you he had to be 6'6" or something. Like, he was a tall guy.
Yeah, Fred Gwynn was a big dude, man. He was,
No, wait a second. I'm remembering something here, John.
The Utes?
I know this guy, and he knows me. You used to call in the other station, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're the guy who's good at stickball, right? You're like the stickball king of the Bronx?
Man, you got some memory.
So wait a second. You're actually Steve from Manhattan, aren't you?
No, I'm not Steve from Manhattan. No.
He's Kevin from Yonkers.
No, he's not Kevin from Yonkers.
But I grew up in the Bronx. You are correct.
Yes, this is Steve. This is Steve.
Guys, I used to put off vacations when I was a kid to play stickball. That's how much I love playing.
I remember you. You called into the Dino Costa show on 970 when I was filling in. Remember me?
Of course I remember you because you guys took over the show. You guys came in there. You didn't tell anybody who you were.
He's right.
It's almost like Dino tied up in the back.
Right. I remember he called it and he said that on the
Dino tied up in the back.
Yeah, he called it and that was his first call. That's what he said.
But who does something like that? Who comes on his show? Don't you want people to know who you are so they can tune in the next time or tell their friends?
Well, didn't Sid Rosenberg tell you, hey, this guy Jonathan Friedman's got a talk show? Nobody knows him.
There's a lot of this. You should know whoever you are. You're not Kevin. I know you're not Kevin. But there was a rivalry here. You see what John's going through here. They're jealous of him because he's doing so well.
Well, listen, guys, like I told you when you were on Dino's show a year ago, Dino's out in St. Louis. Imagine the poor guys out in St. Louis. But you know what?
But by the way, I was happy for Dino because he the Blues, he got to cover a team that was at least, winning a Stanley Cup.
Right. Well, when Dino got to St. Louis in January of this year, St. Louis was in last place.
Right.
They were an afterthought. When the smoke cleared, Dino was number one, and the Blues were the Stanley Cup champions. And, that's the way it goes, folks.
Let me tell you something. You put Dino Costa on this station, let me tell you.
He's good.
He'd get ratings, and he knows his sports. I'll tell you that.
No question about it. There's no question.
You could sprinkle in sports. You guys are good, and Dino's good back to back. But getting back to other things, you got to remember one thing. Put aside jealousy. People are always going to be jealous. It's in the business you're in, it seems to be ratcheted up. Forget about that stuff. Go out and do your thing. Because you guys are good. You're personal. The other guy, Sid got mad at me years ago. He hasn't spoke to me in years. I said,
sounds familiar.
I saw Sid Rosenberg at a Ranger game and his hair was perfect. I mean, come on. That's a line from the Werewolves of London and stuff. Even though the Werewolves of London, the song's not even in the movie. I can't get that.
Steve, promise us you'll keep listening and keep calling in because we like you.
I've always listened to you guys and stuff. I do appreciate the fact that sports radio, when it's done good, it's actually you guys are good.
Thank you. That's a really nice compliment. I really appreciate it. And most importantly, I appreciate you for listening. Thank you. And the ratings are out. We've been here for a good 2 months now. So we'll see if we turn the notch up a little bit. So, and it's for listeners like you that have, if we've accomplished that have helped us accomplish that. So thank you so much.
Well, I got to call you guys anyway because I'm banned from the other stations.
That may have been the least surprising moment of that.
You guys actually did a preamble for me because I want to call WABC and tell the big cat, Big John.
Yeah.
Which is great. He's a local guy. He loves talk radio.
See, this guy knows his stuff, John.
How about that? How he did some negotiating, didn't he, to get that for a song like that?
Well, you know what? The word is like talk radio is down and all this.
Yeah.
They don't remember. Listen, not in this town. You got to remember, this town goes 24 hours a day.
Yep.
We have a lot of listenership at night, daytime. I get up early in the morning. I'll listen to you guys. But I wanted him to free Dino and bring him back to New York. If Big Cat does that, he'll be a folk hero.
That's what I said. I said that to you today, Jeff.
Let me ask you before you go, because I'm really curious. But listen, you are legitimately a good caller. Now, I know you have some fake names, let's be honest. But I would like to know, honestly, why did you get banned? Whenever you called us on the other station, we loved your calls. What did you get banned for?
All right, actually, I got banned for a call I didn't make. I'm curious. True. Back in 2006, Mad Dog and Mad Dog Russo and the Moose were out in St. Louis in October for the playoffs with the Cardinals and the Mets, right? They were in a remote location. Apparently, at that time period, in a remote location, the host and the guy who's the producer out there, they can't cut the call off. It has to be cut off in the studio. Somebody pranked them. It's one of the funniest pranks of all time, but it's even funnier because they couldn't cut the call off. Maybe they didn't know how to, or they just couldn't do it because of the remote location. And they blamed me for that call. And I told the fan, I don't want to say which guy, I said, listen, play that call on the air, like in a loop for a couple of days, and have the audience determine whether that was me making that phone call.
Good idea.
I mean, the next morning they must have put the screener on one of those medieval stretcher racks, of course, because they couldn't cut the call off. And the guy who was doing the prank actually in the end starts laughing because it is funny because they can't cut the call off.
Is the prank is it on YouTube? Can I find that on YouTube?
They don't have it up on YouTube. They will not post it, but they do have that call. I mean, Mad Dog must have made Moose walk home from St. Louis the next day.
I actually believe this story because Steve's not a liar. That's one thing he's not. And the other thing is, I met Russo one time, and the one question I asked him, which helps corroborate the story totally, I said, "Who do you love in sports talk radio?" And his answer was shocking to me. He loves Moose. That was his answer. Of all the people in sports talk radio, that's the name he gave me was Moose. I mean, Moose, I think, used to produce his show. I think that's what you're talking about, Steve. So I think you're right. I think you're 100%. I totally believe that story. And Steve's, an honest guy.
I can give you a little inside scoop. Right, the Moose was the producer of the Mad Dog and Mike's show for a while.
Yeah.
But Moose, in my personal opinion, got mad at them because when the 10 years ago when the morning show opened up and there were big slots, he didn't get a full-time slot, and he felt that they should have pushed more for him. Eventually he does have a full-time slot now on the national CBS radio show. He does the football show on a Sunday. So basically, he's well covered now. He's on SNY and everything. And I told the Moose, I said, Moose, we all know who you are, but when I tune into SNY and I see you on there, if I didn't know who you were, I would think you were an ex-football player. You look like humongous compared to the other guys sitting next to you and everything. But then the Moose goes to me, I'm not really a big dude. I said, you look big on TV,
By the way, I know since you are you like the Dina, Sig will be joining our show in the fall to give us picks of NFL of picks this year in the NFL. So we're looking forward to having him.
Well, unless the guy is sitting in a mansion, he has his 3 Rolls Royces from the I wouldn't really take anybody's picks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could call up.
He loves you, by the way.
Right,
so
and by the way,
he loves
but we make it clear that you can't do picks with him online.
No.
Oh, is that true?
He's not an online. Kevin, thank you so much for listening, and thanks for the call.
You got it, guys.
Take care, buddy.
Steady, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. All right, Chuck, get us updated on what's happening in the world of sports.
Well, John, you just threw that on me real quick. I wasn't ready.
I like to do that.
According to my Twitter, I have sources telling me that was indeed Steve. That was Steve from Manhattan.
So, but wait a second. What that means is, so
who was the other guy?
Let me explain the situation to you because I was figuring it out. You may have noticed that I was trying to think while you were talking earlier because he's talking. And he's a good caller, by the way.
No, he is.
Guy knows his stuff. Do you remember him 970?
No, I don't.
He was a regular call. He must have gotten banned from there too because he's calling. He's obviously listening here and calling in here. It's a better show we have here, but he must have gotten banned over there. But he was the previous call too. He was both calls.
Oh, he was.
He ratted himself out.
Chuck, you're as bad as the call screener over at the Fan.
I think he was both calls. He was the Pat Buchanan call.
It was weird because he used the same name, but he changed locations.
Yeah, he must have used a different phone.
Well, does a number come up when you?
I'm just going based off whatever.
That's the thing. So I could have predicted.
Was his voice the same? I couldn't tell if his voice was the same.
I have to go back and listen to the podcast.
I believe that the first time he called in, it was more of like an older gentleman kind of voice. But now it was kind of just like a regular voice.
Yeah, but what was weird was that when he called in now the second time, I still think it was him the first time. He called the other caller Steve from Manhattan. Well, why would he do that? Why would he call a random caller Steve from Manhattan unless it was him?
It's a little mind games.
That makes no sense. Does that make sense?
All right, so back to sports.
Yeah.
All right. Giants are up 5-1 over the Cardinals in the 6th. Diamondbacks up 3-1 over the Rockies in the 6th. Padres are currently beating the Dodgers 1-0 after 7. Mariners up 6-2 over the A's in the bottom of the 7th. Earlier today, former Met Travis d'Arnaud walked off on the Yankees as the Rays won 4-3.
Man, he stunk.
Yes, he still stinks.
No, well, he's having a nice little season now.
In 230.
The Twins beat the Rangers 7-4. Orioles all over the Blue Jays 8-1. Nationals blanked the Royals 6-0. Pirates blew out the Brewers 12-2. Red Sox beat the Tigers 10-6. Marlins over Johnny's Braves 5-4. The Indians beat their cross-state rivals, the Reds 7-2. Astros blanked the Angels 4-0. Cubs over the White Sox 6-3. And Jeff's Mets beat the Phillies 6-5.
And Brody
is getting the save. And Brody did not throw any chairs tonight.
Twitter is going nuts.
Wait, you're saying that he did, Chuck? You're saying he didn't throw chairs
tonight?
But last
it was last night.
What happened, Jeff?
I read it coming in here tonight. The Post had an exclusive on this story that, and I'm sorry, I forget the reporter, the writer, but the report was that during the game, during the meltdown with Diaz the night before, that Brody completely lost it, called in the coaches, called in Callaway, right? Is any of this wrong, Chuck? And was so angry, so furious that he took a chair and he threw it across the room or something. But the best part of this story to me is Mets Twitter. Because when something like this goes down, the most fun thing for me as a long-suffering Wilponian, whatever you want to call us, stupid people who give that guy money. So Twitter is going nuts. I mean, Brody, if you could throw that good, come out of the bullpen. I mean, that's great stuff.
No, Jeff, I think the funniest tweet that I saw.
He's angry at himself for bringing him in and bringing Cano in.
Should be.
Oh, well, speaking of Cano, John, you're going to lead me to it.
He's been hitting, by the way. I noticed.
He's all right. That's our number 3 hitter.
Jeff, somebody wrote on Twitter that Cano swung at the chair and missed.
That's how I feel with Eli Manning.
Oh, that's good. That's very, very good. That's good stuff. Yeah. So, Chuck, just quickly, I wanted to tell you who the teams were who were the winners and losers of the NHL free agency.
The winners were the Devils, the Rangers.
No, it says here in this article, it says the winners are the Rangers, the Florida Panthers, the Nashville Predators, the Dallas Stars, and the losers are, number 1 losers, the New York Islanders, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, you notice your goalie with the Islanders, he signed, the Islanders brought in a goalie, and
wasn't a good deal.
And the other he left. Where did he go?
He went to Chicago. But
Chicago.
It was his own fault.
Why, they offered him a deal?
No, he wanted more term than the 2 years, $10 million that the Islanders offered him. Went out to see his market, didn't get it. Tried to come back to the Islanders, but the Islanders already moved on because you're not going to sit around and wait for a guy. That's not how Lou Lamoriello operates.
Absolutely not.
He had to settle for a 1-year deal.
So he had a 1-year deal, good money there or whatever?
1 year for $5 million.
Are the Blackhawks any good?
I mean, they're in there rebuilding.
Were they in the playoffs this past year? I don't remember.
No.
Right.
They were a lottery team. They actually got the 3rd pick in the draft.
So and they still have those 2 young studs on that team?
What 2 young
What was
studs?
it, like Toes or what was that?
Taze and Kane?
Yeah,
they're not young anymore.
No, I guess not. How long? What's that been? About 6-7 years since they won the cup?
They won in what, 2013? I
Something
believe?
like that.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So listen, I guess you can't blame the guy for trying to get the best deal possible, and it just didn't work out. But the thing is, what I don't understand is why he just wouldn't want to re-sign with the Islanders, where he's familiar and they're building and the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. And he also said during the NHL award ceremony that term and money don't really mean anything to him because he wants to come back and be an Islander. So why don't you take 2 years, $10 million deal?
Interesting. You know what else is interesting, which I'm getting excited, and we were talking about SIG with NFL picks and stuff. It's July. What's today? The 6th?
Yeah.
Today's the 6th?
Now it's the 7th.
July 7th.
Right. Now it's the 7th. We are just weeks away from NFL training camps open. It's so exciting. And
why, Jeff? The Giants are going to be bad.
I can't wait for that number 1 pick next year.
That's exciting. We got college football. Johnny being the big SEC guy. And my Georgia Bulldogs. I'm looking for big things from them this year. It's good. When you get college football and college, and you get the NFL going, That's just really.
Right,
the greatest time of the year.
Ah.
Even when your team stinks, there's nothing like the
I can't decide though if I want to do fantasy football. Now, for years, I wouldn't say I was dominating, but I was a pretty regular playoff team. And I don't know if I've lost focus. The last few years, I just haven't made the playoffs, and I'm just wondering, is it time for me to hang up fantasy
that's
football?
the kind of thing that if you're not on it,
You got to be
really
on it. You got to be on it.
It's not worth it.
You got it. Chuck, you play fantasy baseball?
I do everything.
Daily or weekly baseball?
Daily.
See, that's hard.
You have to be obsessed. You really do. You got to be old.
Well, you got to, but you're an American League guy. That means you got to know the National League guy. My son plays. He plays daily. Well, my son plays daily, and he tells me, he says, Dad, but I struggle because I don't care and I don't know enough about the American League to be able to, to be competitive the way I should be. So, and at least in football, you have a week to, to get it together. So, and I just think I'm a little off my game. But I think if I was to focus just a little bit more, and what's interesting is you get 2-3 injuries. First of all, I'm in a 14 team league. Right. No good. Because there's never anybody on waivers.
It's true.
I mean, you get,
totally true.
And when you have that situation,
it's
just
you gotta make sure you draft really well.
Well, and then every year. Now I've gone to playoffs and I've won a championship and I've been in a championship and lost. But every year when I come out, my roster is looking great. Right? It just looks great.
We all think that.
And right, it's like leaving spring training.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so, and then you start off 0-2, and you're like, all right, I'm going to pick it up. And then you win and make it, you're 1-2, and then you become 1-3. Right. And then if you win again, you become 2-4. And then you get to the point where you're 3-5 or 3-6. And then you
got to blow it up.
And then you're done. And then you're just having fun and just, hoping for the best or kind of thing. But when you get 2 games under 500 on fantasy, 3 games under, by week 6, 7, 8, you're done.
Yeah.
So, and then you start like, the only thing that I would never do this, but I can't stand. I used to yell at my league where somebody would leave somebody in the lineup who had either a bye
Oh, I hate
or
that.
it used to drive me crazy.
I can't play in a league like that.
Because it affects the whole league.
I won't play in a league like that.
So, well, I always threatened to do it. I always threatened to do it. And I played in one league where one guy one year, and obviously didn't know enough, he took a kicker in the second round.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
And I was like, really? You took a kicker?
You feel like you're not really playing. I mean, you can't play. It's like, come on.
Well, right. So, and I take, like I do with just playing sports, period, I take it seriously. Right. So, and some people don't, whatever. But
by the way, John, great. I just want to give you a lot of props here because it is clear to me that we've surpassed some threshold here. Because there's a lot of people talking on Twitter now. I think Chuck was referencing this. I'm seeing this on my Twitter about the call about Steve from Manhattan. And a few of the callers, good listeners, by the way. You got some good listeners because they are confirming what we've been talking about, that was in fact Steve from Manhattan. And I see it's Charlie, and I'm not sure where. And
that's not Charlie B, is it?
Yeah, Charlie B.
That's me.
Is that you? Is that you?
It could be.
Well, there are other people here talking about
You got to send me that.
Great job.
Jeff, when I came in today, John asked me if I could retweet his tweet from earlier today, and I did it, and we got, 7 phone calls? So maybe it was my Twitter that got the ball rolling.
Well, yeah, but then you put yourself in a corner with me. What's the first thing that comes to my mind? Why weren't you retweeting my tweets?
Because now that I have the baby, I'm on Twitter like here and there. So if you're not tweeting by the time that I go on, then I don't see it.
All right, so I'll have to remind you.
I gotta follow you.
Yeah, you gotta remind me.
I'll have to remind you. So yeah, I do all. Yeah, I produce the show. I sell the sponsorships. I host the show. We got a lot going on there. So, Izzy, why am I hearing music? Oh, we're gonna get a break. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll finish it up. We'll see what everybody's doing for Sunday. You're listening to Talking Sports on a Sunday morning. We'll be right back.
What do you think, Marty?
It was good though. You get people to think that we're like organically now growing.
What time do I have to be out when you come back?
Insurance, group health, casualty, and life insurance. Visit Brown & Brown Metro on the web at
31.
or give them a call at 973-549-1900. Visit Brown & Brown Metro on the web at bbmetro.com.
I love it. I got that. I don't care.
I love it. First of all, there
Are there people doing it?
a lot of
Just send
people
me
talking
this.
about
You gotta
it.
send me
Yeah,
this
even
stuff.
there.
It's called Isles Built on Live.
Hilarious. I'm telling you, remember I was saying, if it's James or Cole for listeners,
there's no question in my mind. You can see that
right.
At Journal Square. This 1,071 square
You
foot
got,
home features
for the first time, you got a little,
modern design.
the Sid and the whole thing.
What did I do?
Oh, you don't even remember?
Oh, I switched off of him.
Well, that's fine. You let it out.
Yeah, I don't care anymore.
Jealous or intimidate.
I don't care anymore.
And you can reach them at info@journalsquare.com or give them a call at 201-659-7100. Check out KRENJC.com for more details.
Many doctors in the U.S. and Canada have chosen the Back Institute for their own care. Experts in non-traumatic spine surgery. No cutting, no bleeding, no drilling, no scarring.
So Jeff, Leslie in Fort Lee says that you and I sound alike. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I always knew I liked your voice.
BackInstitute.com or give them a call at 800-956-6724. That's
Can you hear me?
800-956-6724. Back Institute, award-winning spine surgeons and physicians.
Advertisers trying to reach potential customers in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world are having a difficult, if not impossible, time figuring out how to do so. There are so many options from the traditional.
You know, John, Leslie has such a following that him tweeting out about this is only good for your show.
I love it. Love it. I like him. I like him.
Advertising and public relations.
He's a cool, funny dude, but sometimes on Twitter he's wild.
I'll tell you a story after we go off about.
Reach your potential customer. We help our clients strengthen their relationships, reputations, and brands by integrating your message across the entire media spectrum. The folks at SCG understand the options available to advertisers and will work with you to determine the best creative and media plan for your business. So learn more about us by visiting scgadv.com. That's scgadv.com. We'll help you reach your customers, all of them.
All right, we're back on a Sunday morning. We got about 2 minutes left of the show here, so let's do our quick little round robin of Sunday. What's going on a Sunday? Jeff, what do you got going on?
I can't wait tomorrow. I'm taking my two boys and my wife to Citi Field. We're going to see the game. It is Marvel Heroes Day, so they're going to get their little Spider-Man bobblehead dolls.
Very nice. What is that, a 1 o'clock game tomorrow?
Yeah, it is. We're going to go early to get that bobblehead.
Very nice. That's going to be what a great place. You're going to take them out to that wiffle ball out. They have that little field out there where they,
kids nowadays can't sit still. We're going to take them everywhere. Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
Bring your money.
I know.
Bring your money, honey.
I know.
Izzy, what you got going on tomorrow?
So tomorrow I'm going to do a little bit of work in my neighborhood for some of my lawn clients. And after that, probably around like 6 o'clock tomorrow night, I'm going to go out. And one of my sisters just texted me. She said, hey, we got to go out to Garden State Plaza in New Jersey and see some fireworks. Which I had no idea that they even had fireworks tomorrow.
Nice.
I guess like the whole weekend, people just been saying, you know what, let's do fireworks from the 3rd all the way to like the 7th or something like that.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I'm going to see some fireworks tomorrow night.
Very nice. I'm glad you're back this week. Chuck, what you got going on?
I got softball tomorrow morning, and then after that, barbecue and pool.
Any brews this week?
No, nothing.
No brews. Okay.
I'm good. I'm healthy.
That is good. All right. And I got, my wife left me a list of things to do while she's away. So
nothing will get done.
No, I got to make sure. I cannot come back and have her kick my ass when if it's not completed. If it's not completed on that list. All right. Looks like we're coming to the end of this week's show. As always, I hope your team wins. I want to thank Jeff, Bruce, Izzy, and Charles behind the glass and making it happen. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank our callers. And I especially want to thank you, the listeners. You've been listening to Talking Sports on a Saturday evening. I'm John Friedman. Have a great week, everybody.
Matters of faith, everything matters. This is Rabbi Joseph Tastic from Religion Online, and I'd like to welcome Reverend A.R. Bernard to 77 WABC. 35 years